The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Fold the franchise. That's it. Fold the franchise. Fire everyone.
This is the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
We have the best fans in sports. We have the worst organization that we support. Disgusting what we watched today. We're hours removed from it. I just got done with 4 hours on ESPN New York, and thank you to all the Asmaniacs who tuned in there. And I'm still angry, which I'm surprised. I figured the apathy would start to set in. But no, I mean, I had to be on the air as Ramondre Stevenson was scoring the game-winning touchdown. Here's what it sounded like. This was me in real time reacting on the radio in the biggest media market in the world, New York City, to the Jets' debacle reaching new lows.
Embarrassing. This is as bad as it's ever been for the New York Jets. It will never be worse than it is right now. They are about to be 2-6 with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and all this talent. Add Devontae Adams, add Hassan Reddick. And this defense, which once upon a time used to be good, got dog-walked late in this game when they needed a stop, and they couldn't get it. I mean, this is fold the franchise territory for the Jets. They're terrible.
Fold the franchise. They stink to new levels I didn't think were possible. And once again, even if you thought this Jets team was not as good as what some thought they were going to be, you never could have imagined they'd be 2-6. Their season would be over on October 27th. But don't worry, they're back in prime time 3 days from now, baby. Hey, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of people at MetLife on Halloween dressed up as empty seats. This is a disgrace. The level of disgrace, I don't think people, unless they're true Jet fans, really understand. Like other teams, other fans of other teams in various sports don't know the pain of being a Jet fan. Because normally, when your team has a bad season, when we as Jet fans have had bad seasons, there are things we could point to and say, well, if they do this, they can get it right. I'm here to tell you right now, I don't know what they could do to get this right. I don't know what they can do. It's easy to say, fire the owner. Well, that can't happen. It's easy to say, sell the team, Woody. Well, that's not up for the fans to decide. This team has done irreparable damage to its loyal fans. I don't know how the Jets come back from this. There's still 9 games to go, and this is a train wreck, the likes of which we don't see very often in professional sports. It is that bad right now. And it's every aspect of this team, starting with the owner, starting with the general manager. And this team was poorly coached with Robert Saleh. Now they're non-coached with Jeff Ulbrich. What a joke. This guy is in over his head. This team came out today unprepared. Have you ever seen a team burn 3 timeouts in the first quarter? Have you ever seen a team have to use a timeout? Oh, wait. They didn't have any. Have you ever seen a team take a delay a game on a 2-point conversion? How does that happen, man? And don't even get me started with this kicker. And you know what? It's easy to say Greg Zuerlein sucks and he shouldn't be the kicker. That's easy. All right? We know the guy is terrible. We know that he either is old or he has the yips or both, and he is shot. It's easy to say that. You know what needs to be said? Who's the reason why Greg Zuerlein's on this team right now? This general manager who's 29-62. Blame Joe Douglas, because for the second year in a row, this guy has sat on his ass and allowed this season to go up in flames with his inaction. A year ago, if he got a better backup after Rodgers got hurt 4 plays in, that version of the Jets could have actually made the postseason. This year, despite the ineptitude we've seen from various aspects of this team, if Greg Zuerlein did his job, they might have 2, if not 3 more wins. And then you could say, well, who could he have signed? I don't know. Brandon McManus hit another game-winning kick today for Green Bay. How's that looking? Jets could have had him for nothing. And only the Jets could have Austin Seibert in their camp this summer. They cut this guy because they have Greg the Leg. He goes to Washington, and he's been the best kicker in the NFL since he signed there. He's missed 1 kick all year, and it's because it was blocked. Only the Jets. The pain that we experience rooting for this football team, I don't know when it ends, because every time we say it cannot get worse, they find a new way. And today was as bad of a loss as I have ever experienced. And that was after I felt that way a week ago, Sunday night against Pittsburgh. I mean, it is just so bad, top to bottom. And this defense, this overrated defense, all the stars on it, you get Reddick added to the fold. And God, I cannot wait. If they could get anything for that piece of you-know-what, get rid of them. And by the way, start the fire sale. If you can get anything for any of these veterans, you got to consider it. Do I think the Jets will do it? No, because I don't think Woody actually wants to do what's in the best interest of the fan base, of the franchise. I think he wants to sell tickets, and he can't wave the white flag in October. There'll be no one in his building in November. Well, guess what, Woody? That's going to happen either way now. And for all we know, Joe Douglas is not even the GM right now. He's an absentee general manager. Has anyone seen him? Anyone heard from him? They fired his buddy Rex Hogan, and he turtled up, and we haven't heard from the guy. What a joke. I mean, I want everyone gone. I mean, they have done so much damage to this fan base. I am not this negative fan at all. I try to be positive. I genuinely do believe this team had talent on it. Still do. But they are as poorly coached as any team I've ever watched. And it's now affecting some of the young players on this team we thought were going to be true difference makers. And I'm not giving Sauce Gardner a pass, by the way. That last drive was abysmal, and he needs to be better. But it just feels like the stench, like the karma, as Joe B would say, of this franchise has now overtaken some of these building blocks that we thought were going to be here for a long time. And now you just don't know. 2-6 on the year. 2-6. If they had a win right now, 2 wins right now, it wouldn't feel like all hope is lost. But I don't know where you go. And you know what? This team was not winning anything with Robert Saleh, but clearly that move has backfired. Clearly, that was the wrong move. And I was someone who was kind of indifferent on it. I thought Saleh was coaching for his job against the Bills. They did it a week early. Okay, it better work. It hasn't. And now Woody's got to own it. And just everything the Jets do, it's ass backwards. You know, if you're going to get rid of Saleh, then you do it before the year starts. You do it in the offseason. You know, if you're going to get Devontae Adams, you make the Raiders an offer in the offseason before the year starts that they can't refuse. Not when you're 2-4. If you're going to get the Reddick deal done, you get it done before you're 2-5. Oh, but Jake, that's not unfair. The Jets deserve no passes. They don't deserve any benefit of the doubt. They have ruined this season. And really, any hopes I have now going forward, I don't know if I could ever be excited about another Jets season. Not with this guy owning the team. No way. How could you? And how about that Devontae Adams speech, huh? That Gettysburg Address really worked. As this defense folded like a cheap suit, allowing a 12-play, 70-yard drive against a Patriots team with their backup quarterback and basically no weapons anyone has ever heard of besides their running back. And just the way the Jets lose these games, it should be studied. Because they can't just be bad in silence. They got to be bad in spectacular fashion. In the most painful ways imaginable. And I don't know what the answer is. In the past, we could say, well, if they do this, there's a path to it. I don't know what the answer is. I know the answer is GM got to go. Jeff Ulbrich has no chance of being this team's long-term head coach. I have a better chance of being the Jet head coach next year than he does. And it's a shame because you know what? I think Jeff Ulbrich's a hell of a DC. And he was thrown into a tough spot. But the way this is all unraveled, man, I mean, it is unreal. They were poorly coached with Robert Saleh. They're not coached with Jeff Ulbrich. I'll say it again. It's an embarrassment what we witnessed today. And the only thing you could hope for, and here's the problem, right? You hope the owner can hire the right people. You have no faith in that happening. James Dolan's not a good owner. He eventually got the Knicks turned around because he hired Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. You have to hope that Woody, maybe through divine intervention, could hire the right football people to fix this team. Because until that happens, there's nothing to talk about. And I know people will say a lot about Aaron Rodgers, this and that. Look, what we thought he was supposed to have, he doesn't have. He doesn't have an elite running game. He doesn't have a top 5 defense. He doesn't have a top 5 special teams. And you know what? In this game today, while certainly not pretty at times, he gave you the lead late. Led a beautiful touchdown drive. And then this defense had a chance to make a play. The backbone of this team the last 3 years had a chance to go win the game against a crummy Patriots team with their backup quarterback, and they couldn't do it. So I don't want to hear it about Rodgers. We know he's clearly injured. He's not the same guy we saw on September 19th when he was mobile, moving around, off-platform throws, escaping the pocket. He's not that guy. He's a statue back there. They were supposed to be able to help him. And just the way this team folds at any sign of adversity, like what we saw last week, and then today, not having that killer instinct to close out anyone. It's all coaching. This team is so poorly coached. It is unbelievable. Discipline issues. How about Michael Clemens with another penalty? When are we going to hold someone accountable? When does that happen? Why is it this fan base wants to win more than the players and coaches do? I mean, I am disgusted by what we saw today. Disgusted. And this is worse than any other season I can imagine. Any other season. Because last year, it was sucked away right away, but you knew why. This year, I don't have the answer. I don't know what the answer is. There isn't an answer. It is as bad as it has ever been once again. I took calls tonight from Jet fans who've been watching this team from the beginning. I had calls from Ira and Staten Island. I had calls from you name it, all the Jet fans. I watched this game today with Beningo, who will be joining us at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It has never been worse. It has never been worse than it is right now. And we had legitimate reasons for hope coming in. And this team is a train wreck. And I said it on the radio, I'll say it again. This is one of the biggest failures in professional sports history. That's what the Jets are now wearing. Seriously. This team with this type of talent to be 2-6 is an unmitigated disaster. There is no hope to even salvage this season now. The only thing the Jets are going to do is now start winning games when it doesn't even matter. And they will hurt their draft pick, whatever it ends up being. Who cares? Because it doesn't matter unless you have the right GM and the right coach. Jets have picked high how many times? But now it's like you're back to the drawing board. Rodgers not going to be here next year. Devontae's not going to be here. Who's the coach? Who's the GM? What's the direction? What's the plan? I have no idea about any of these questions. It's just, wow. I mean, even for Jet standards, it is impossible to fathom how bad this has gotten. I mean, to lose this game today, the way they did, it is just sad. It really is. And I keep coming back to the word irreparable damage they're doing to this fan base. Because I heard from a lot of people tonight already on the radio. We'll hear from people on the postgame show here that aren't renewing their season tickets. How could you? How could you? When once again, for how many years in a row are your tickets going down in value by the time you get to November and December when you can get to a Jet game for $30 instead of paying hundreds of dollars that you pay up front to be a season ticket holder and support this team? And they're going to, and Woody Johnson has the audacity to raise prices. Are you kidding me? And when you defend this team the way I did this offseason, and you really want to believe in this team the way I did and many people did that watch the show every day, just for them to turn out the same way that all these haters said it would, it really just breaks you, man. It really does. I mean, 25-22 to the Patriots. And of course it's the Patriots, right? They stink. They're not any good. Even in their rebuild year, they still get to stick it to the Jets. Like, they're terrible. They're not any good. They're going to finish with 4 or 5 wins at the most. And we gave them one of the highlights of their season, ending ours. Now, I thought the season was done last week at 2-5. I did. But I thought if they won today, you know what? Let's give some hope going into Houston. Then you never know. But now forget it. 2-6. I mean, in a season that has been filled with some of the most painstaking losses I have ever experienced being a fan of this team, this is a whole new level of embarrassment. And you could bring up 2011, 2016, 1999, 2003, whatever year you want to mention that I've experienced in my lifetime rooting for this team. This is worse. Last year, this is worse. And a part of me died between last Sunday and then today. Because now anything they do that is positive won't even feel like it. It's just, That's really it. We're angry today. We'll be angry tomorrow. They're going to play again on Thursday. Fitting they'll be wearing black, as it will be the Jets' funeral when they lose on Thursday. It already is. Be people dressed up as empty seats at MetLife, I'll tell you that much. But it's just, when does it end, man? When does this stop? And I don't know the answer. I really don't. Before I get to your calls and get to some super chats, I do sincerely want to thank everyone who came out to T-Squared Social today. We had a great watch party. Thank you to Joe Beningo for coming through, took pictures with everyone. All the regulars who were there, all the regular Asmaniacs who made it out. Thank you, guys. Everyone who I met for the first time, truly appreciate it. I have no idea what our next one will be or if I even want to do one, to be honest. I love T-Squared Social, love the people there. They treat us like kids. I can't do it, man. This team is actually, I think, they've broken me. I mean, I am disheveled right now. Between that and what happened last night in the World Series with the Yankees, it has been a brutal 24-hour stretch for me. If you're tuned in live right now, God bless you. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. There's 2,500 in here live, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We are about 300 away from 40,000. So Jet fans, win or lose, and it's certainly a lot of losing. We're in this together. All right, some super chats here. Here we go. Tyrone writes in, Jets need a whole new coaching staff and a kicker. Too much talent. OC sucks. 9 games left, holding on by a fingernail. But, man, this is the biggest slap in the face as a fan. Go Jets. It's over, Tyrone. I love your positivity, and I truly appreciate your support. They're done. They're done. They're 2-6. It's over. They just lost to the worst team in the NFL. And I got news for you. The Jets now are in the conversation for one of the worst teams in the NFL. What do they do well right now? Do they have a good offense? No. Do they have a good defense? No. Do they have a good special teams? Are they properly coached? They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Andrew says, think we have a better record with Sean P. at head coach. Yeah, I'd imagine Sean Payton would do better than Jeff Ulbrich or Robert Saleh. What a dumb comment. Jesse writes it, I didn't watch the game because I wanted to enjoy my Sunday, but let me guess, terrible coaching, bad penalties, missed kicks, same old Jets, blow it up. It's being blown up. Here's the problem. We could say blow it up. Who are you hiring? And do you have any faith in the guy who owns the franchise to hire the right people? Because I don't. NYJ, why would Greg want to get paid kicking field goals for the Jets when he could just kick Jet fans in the nuts? Look, I think it's easy to say Greg Zuerlein sucks. He's not any good. He should be cut. He's not doing it on purpose. This is on Joe Douglas. Get off your ass, Joe, and maybe be the GM of this team. Or as Woody just groped you by the balls, you got no power left. You can't even get a replacement kicker in there? A joke. A year after, this guy basically sunk the Jet season by neglecting the backup quarterback spot. Now he's neglecting the kicker position. It's an embarrassment. Dre writes in, Jake, I can't with another rebuild. I know, man. And you know what? Let me say this about a rebuild. I'm pretty sick and tired of watching other teams turn their team around in a year, 2 years at the most. Remember the Lions were the biggest joke in sports? How are they right now? How quickly do they turn it around with their GM and coaching hires? How about the Washington Commies today? Jane Daniels looks pretty good. How'd they turn it around? Oh, they hit on a quarterback? Oh, they got the coaching hire right? You know, it's not that hard if you hire the right people. Rebuilds don't take 6 years for Joe Douglas, who's now 29-62. And I was patient with Joe because I do see some of the good moves he's made. I do think there's talent on this team. But ultimately, what has he done right? Not enough to overcome what he's done wrong, which is drafting Zach Wilson, not getting a real backup for Zach Wilson, drafting Mekhi Becton, and the biggest move he made that he failed, hiring the head coach and Robert Saleh. That's it. He does not get to hire another coach. He's not the only reason why this team has struggled, but he's got to go. He's got to go. You're going to give Joe Douglas a contract extension with a record of 29-62? He's gone. 25, that Devontae speech worked wonders. Yeah, what a speech. Put it up there with the MLK speech. Herb Brooks before the U.S. took on the Soviets in 1980. Put it right up there with what other great speeches? Kennedy's inauguration speech. All the speeches, man. What a speech. Drew writes in, if I see one positive Jets social media post, I'll tell you what you're going to see this week, and get ready for it. The Jets are going to be like, look at our jerseys this week. We're wearing the all black. They're going to continue to spit in our faces. Keep posting videos of Hassan Reddick, though. It's exactly what we want to see as this team is 2-6. Embarrassing franchise. Embarrassing ownership. Disgusting. Who's her daddy? Woody from Toy Story would be a better owner. It's just, it is mind-boggling that we're here. We're talking about draft positioning, new GM, new coach, quarterback. It's October 27th. You realize during this losing streak, the Jets have been a favorite in all these games. You realize that, right? Like, not only have the Jets been a 2-6 football team that is bad, they are still supposed to win these games because there is talent on this team. And they are about as poorly coached of a team as I've ever seen. And the coaching is now impacting the development or the lack of ascension, I believe, of some of these young stars. I don't know what's happened to Sauce Gardner these last couple weeks. Yeah, first he wasn't playing up to his all-pro level, but now it's just getting worse and worse. And what's the excuse today for the defense? No DJ Reed, you had him back. No Michael Carter, you had him back. No Hassan Reddick, you had him. I mean, come on, man. Jacoby Brissett's dog walking you for 12 plays and 70 yards in 2 minutes? Really? What a joke. Eric says Boswell was a midseason pickup for the Steelers in 2015. You can find better kickers laying around. Yeah, Green Bay picked up Brandon McManus. He has 2 game-winning kicks in 2 career games with the Packers. Only the Jets could let a kicker wreck their season. After last year, the whole theme of the season was Joe Douglas sitting on his ass doing nothing and allowing this defense, which last year actually was good in top 5. And this special teams actually was good and was top 5 in the league. Destroy a year later, by basically doing the same thing, but instead of quarterback, it's kicker. RJ with a super chat. I agree with you on JD potentially being gone, but who do you trust to get the next head coach more, JD or Woody? But I don't think that's justification to keep JD. Obviously, I think JD knows more about football than Woody Johnson. The hope would be Woody could find someone to help him advise him the right people in the interview process. How did James Dolan find Leon Rose? You know, you have to hope that someone can get through to Woody Johnson that understands football and can help him identify the right candidates for these jobs. And you have to pray they get it right. Because until they get that hire right, nothing matters. Nothing. Arizona Frankie says, this team is Adam Gase bad. I can math it. C, Sauce is a mod until further notice. Yeah, just go play more golf, Sauce. Or go stream on Twitch. I'm so disgusted, man. Eric says, we're at coat tight level now. The team finally broke me. This to me is as bad as it's ever been. You know, when they were that bad with Gase, or for those of you old enough, obviously, to remember the coat tight years, to me, it's like you were tearing it down and starting over. I think the Jets right now are at such a weird spot because do we really want them to tear it all down? Like, I don't know about you guys. I don't want to get rid of Garrett Wilson. That guy cares, man. That guy has a give a shit that is very high. All right? I look at that guy competing today. I look at that guy who wants to be great. I think it kills him that they're losing. That guy can play for my team any day. But we're going to blow the whole thing up now? Like, that hurts, man. That hurts because you have no idea when you're ever going to get talent this good again, and you got to hope that you get the coaching right. Dark Knight Steve with a super chat. Start trading everyone for draft capital. Break it down to the studs. We can start doing mock drafts for fun. F my football life. I hate this team. All this organization does is lie to us, and we fall for it each time. And this one hurts more than any other. Because you know what? I'll say it again. I don't think any Jet fan was foolish for having faith in this team. I don't think any Jet fan was foolish for thinking a team last year that won 7 games without a quarterback, getting Aaron Rodgers back, and this defense, the special teams, and the things we pointed to. I don't think you were crazy for thinking this team could win 10 or more games. Because guess what? They've been a favorite in all these games. Guess what? Their win total was 9.5 going into the year. You weren't crazy. We just couldn't have imagined it would ever be this bad. Meadowlands writes in, this is the worst super team in sports history. I've never seen a laundry list of talent fail so spectacularly together. It's disgusting / abysmal. I mean, this has been the hardest year of being a Jet fan of my life. By far. And I'll keep using this phrase tonight. Irreparable damage they're doing to this fan base. Even the most optimistic Jet fan, I don't know how you could somehow spin it positive or be excited again. How? Eric, this is the worst. I had more fun in the Gase years. You just didn't care in the Gase years. You didn't have expectations. It's the hope that kills you. It was the buildup for this year, too, because last year felt like the ultimate tease because you had 4 plays of Rodgers, and you still fought. They were 4-3 last year before the O-line fell apart, which exposed how bad Zach Wilson is, which, by the way, just because the Jets are worse this year so far through 8 games than they were last year with Zach Wilson, no does that mean that Zach Wilson is all of a sudden good. All right, so we can stop with that. Story Lynn, most painful seasons is the final game in 2015. Signing out, Jake. Shout out to the Asmaniacs. This is so unbelievable next season. Story Lynn, we'll see you in a year. God bless. Dre writes in, we need Rex right now, Jake. He lives. I'd hire Rex today just for the hell of it and make the Jets watchable. Let Rex coach the rest of the way. Why not? Who cares? You know, I talked about Garrett Wilson having a high give-a-shit radar. So does Rex. And I'll say what I said on the show the other day because there's a bigger audience watching right now. Rex Ryan is 1,000% getting a head coaching interview for this team. Not saying he's getting the job, but you know what? At least Rex cares. At least guys play for him. You think the Jets are 2-6 with Rex Ryan if they had this talent right now? No shot. No shot. You think Rex is letting them lose to the Patriots if he's coaching this team today? No way. No way. Because he understands the history of the organization. You can't lose to New England when they're this bad. Omari writes in, the players do not have any heart. Every time we go into the season with expectations, we fall short. I want everybody gone. Every flipping buddy. I get it. Look, this team's going to look radically different next year. There's no doubt. The debate's going to be, though, when we say break it down, does that mean Sauce? Does that mean Garrett? Does that mean Brace? Jermaine? You know, DJ Reed won't be here next year. Mike Williams won't be here next year. Like, that's obvious. Tyron Smith won't be here next year. What does this team look like beyond some of these, like, veterans who are on one-year deals? And by the way, get Hassan Reddick off this football team. Get rid of his ass. Honestly, if the Jets could swallow their pride and go from buyers 2 weeks ago to sellers, I would trade anyone you can get picks for. But who's even making those decisions? Woody? Joe Douglas, the absentee GM? So none of that will happen. Forever Ron, I can't even disappoint my dad the way this team disappointed me. Truly unbelievable. I mean, this is one of the biggest sports disappointments ever. And if you're a fan of the Jets, we will talk about 2024. We will talk about the Aaron Rodgers era. And it's just going to be looked back on like just a nightmare. The same way we talk about Gase and Kotite, we're going to talk about the Rodgers era now. The Joe Douglas era. Dano writes in, if you ask me, the offense was the strength of the team and did enough to win. The defense sucked and the special teams was a colossal fail. AR was a bright spot. Look, to me, this is not the postgame show to kill Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't perfect, but he's also clearly not what he was. We knew that. He's not 100% healthy. That is so obvious if you watch him. He can't move laterally. He's not even close to the same guy we saw a month ago against the same Pats team. He's beat up. He still played well enough for them to win today. He gave you a game-winning touchdown. And then you needed this defense to step up and make a play. How many times has this defense made that stop at the end and bailed out the crappy offense? Today, the offense picked up the defense. And the defense failed them. And that's the sign of a bad team. That's the sign of a poorly coached team. When 1 week it's special teams, 1 week it's the offense, 1 week it's the defense. When every week it's a different unit failing you, you know what that means? You suck. You're not any good. And we know the Jets are not any good. The record is what the record is at this point. And we know the coaching staff is an abomination. They're unprepared. There's no adjustments. Yes, Downing's better than Hackett, but that's not saying much. I think Ulbrich, it's clear he's been stretched too thin being the head coach. I think he should either delegate the play calling responsibilities or they got to come up with some better system. Just not working. This defense, first week it's like, okay, it's Josh Allen. He's good. It's the Bills. Last week, all right, Pittsburgh, tough environment. What's the excuse against the Patriots, who had lost 6 in a row? Their own coach called them soft. They were getting booed out of the stadium at halftime, the way they sat on the ball at the end there. And you allowed them to beat you with their backup quarterback in? Are you kidding me? Soft. WD says 29-62. This show needs to start listening to the negative callers. JJ and Allen were right. Always my favorites on the show. JJ is a great fan. He wants to see this team win. He was the one also talking about winning 10 in a row. So he's all over the place. I don't know. Allen just roots for the Jets to be bad so he can say, I told you so. His take will always be negative. So it is what it is. And I've said this for a while now. If your take is always anti-Jets and it's never going to work out, more times than not, you're going to end up being right. It's easy to say that. Kakuga Lake Jet fan. Bought my dad B-Day tickets for the Colts game. I'm ashamed to take them and don't want to go. My son's a Bills fan and keeps trying to change my fandom. Well, you can't be a Bills fan, but normally I would say you're a fraud for letting your son be a Bills fan, but I mean, I don't have it in me right now. Robert says, if someone paid me to take his tickets, I'd say no. That's the problem, right? You're going to have to pay people to go to watch the team the rest of the way. With this kind of talent, this quarterback, and it doesn't matter. Verdine became an Asmaniac. Thank you, Verdine. I appreciate everyone tuned in, supporting the show, man. This is my living, man, so I still got to talk about this team every day, which sucks. So thank you guys for the support. Super chats, donations, the channel memberships goes a long way, And it sucks because now I've seen this, man. It's my 4th year doing this. Once you hit that point where the fan base checks out, that's the worst place to be when you're an organization. Right now, we still care for the night. Right? It stings. It hurts. But then we're going to get to Thursday. They're going to lose. They're going to be 2-7. It's going to be 8 games left, and no one's going to care. You're playing out the strings with 8 games left. You know how pathetic that is? Last year, at least, they were 4-3. Embarrassing. Dark Knight Steve, what do the Jets do well? Get penalties. Miss kicks, commit dumb penalties, burn timeouts excessively. Have you ever seen a team burn 3 timeouts in the first quarter of a game? And this is where I will criticize Rodgers. Because you know what? At some point, you're the Hall of Fame quarterback. You got to say enough is enough, man, and get the play in. Get on the same page with Downing or whatever. Or is it Downing's giving Rodgers the play, and Rodgers knows the play sucks, so he's spending all this time changing at the line of scrimmage, and it's just too much for him to do at this stage of his career? Is that what's happening? Everything just pisses me off tonight, man. Everything. I hate this team. I hate them with every fiber in my body. Fighter Jet says, season ticket holder, section 250. Should I renew? No. Will I? Yep. I wish I knew how to quit this team, but I can't. Will be a fan till I die. Let me ask you this. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. Why are you renewing? Right? If you're a Jet fan and the Jets want you to renew your season tickets, what's the benefit of that? What are you getting out of that? Like, if you want to go to a Jet game, just buy tickets on the secondary market. You might say, well, Jake, it will be expensive to begin. By the end of the year, it won't be. Go look for what tickets are selling for Thursday. Go look at what tickets are going to be selling for that Colts game. Which, by the way, if they don't flex that game at a Sunday night, I will go to Park Avenue myself and strangle Roger Goodell personally. The last thing I need is any more late nights doing this show reacting to another debacle that the entire country gets to watch and make fun of. I can't do it anymore, man. It is bad enough they're playing 3 days from now. Between the Yankees and the Jets, my blood pressure cannot. I actually took off my Apple Watch today at T Squared Social because I was tired of it. Irregular heart rate. Enough. But getting back to the super chat here, I'm delirious right now. What is the benefit of being a season ticket holder right now? Why would you give this team your money? I'm not telling you how to spend it. I'm just saying if you want to go to a game, I don't have season tickets. I pay for tickets if I want to go. So you could sit with the same people in your section. Like, I get it. There's camaraderie there. But what do you get out of being a season ticket holder? They don't send you a great, like, preseason package like other teams do. You see what the Raiders send their fans? What does the Jet season ticket holder get? Oh, they get a yearbook with a bunch of advertisements? 50% off Jet wine? They should be paying you to watch them. So I'm not going to tell you how to fan. If you want to do it, do it. And I respect the hell out of all these long-time season ticket holders. But what are you getting out of it? PSL is the biggest ripoff in the history of sports. They drag you through the coals for that. Now they want your season ticket renewal money in late October with the team 2-7. Or 2-6. Sorry, they'll be 2-7 3 days from now. Check back in Thursday night. Are you kidding me? And I'm going to be a fan too till I die. I'm stuck. All right, you can't leave your team. But I don't know what you get out of giving this team your money right now. Section 250B, Fighter Jet, you want to sit there? You can buy tickets there. Michael writes in, false start on the 2-point conversion. Do they practice during the week? I want witnesses. Forget the false start. How about the fact that they had to take a delay of game there on a 2-point conversion attempt? I mean, this stuff is scripted in practice. You go into a game knowing, hey, these are your 2 calls if it's 2-point against this defense. I can't. If I don't take a sip of water right now, I might choke to death. So hold on. They still make me this angry, which is insane because I've been screaming about the Jets for nonstop for 4 hours on ESPN New York and now doing this. A1 Saucy says, I really hate this version of the Jets. They really play with no heart. Last year's Jets would be, yeah, last year's team would definitely be this year's. Last year's team was better. Last year's team actually had a heart. All right, they knew when Rodgers went down, everyone had to do more. And they just thought, oh, Rodgers is back. Everything's going to be great. Maybe they didn't work hard in the offseason. Maybe they just believed what we thought as fans. Rodgers would fix a lot of it. They just would show up and be fine. I question everything because I'll tell you what, if Aaron Rodgers was actually the quarterback of last year's team, they do go to the playoffs because last year's defense was really good. Last year's Greg Zuerlein missed 3 kicks all year. He's missed 6 field goals and what? It's like 2 or 3 PATs. And he still has a job. How do you let him on the plane back from this game? J-Mold, JD's failed. I can't believe he has defenders. Look, no one could say Joe Douglas hasn't made some good moves along the way. He clearly has. But he hasn't done enough. He's in his 6th year, man. He's had 5 full drafts, 5 full free agent periods, 5 full off seasons. He hired the head coach. He got it colossally wrong. He drafted the quarterback. You couldn't pick a bigger bust. He then had a chance to rectify the situation. Okay, he gives you Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers blows his Achilles out 4 plays in. Not his fault, but then did nothing and tanked the season. Then what? Disgraceful. Disgraceful. Tommy writes in, now they want to talk about accountability, but don't act on it ever. Clemens, awful. Zuerlein, come on. Yeah, accountability. You know what accountability looks like? The total opposite of anything we've seen from the New York Jets this year. That's accountability. P. Green, how is it even possible? Isn't the game easier to lose than win? should we be somewhat impressed that this talented group could lose to the Pats? I mean, it's a new level of ineptitude. I'm trying to find the stat that Samini had. The Jets became the first team to lose this game today. Hold on, let me pull it up on my phone because my computer is spazzing, much like I'm spazzing, much like the Jets have spazzed, much like this fan base is spazzed. The Jets are the second team this century to lose 5 straight games when they weren't underdogs of at least 3 points in any of them. Here's another great stat. The Jets had 0 turnovers, held the Patriots to 247 yards, and still lost. They're the first team to lose a game in which they did not turn the ball over and held their opponent under 250 yards since week 3 of 2012. That was the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary game when he was with the Packers against the Seahawks. Since that game, teams to do that, the stat I just gave, have been 220-0 until today. And you know what? Here's why. This defense never forces any turnovers. They never fall on a goddamn fumble. They never set the offense up with a short field. And today, the offense gave them a chance to win the game. They gave you the game-winning drive. Go do it, defense, and they blew it. They gagged as well of a gag as you'll ever see. If you want a script or you want to try and perfect what gagging looks like, put on the last 2 minutes and 35 seconds of the fourth quarter of this game today. Travis says, we had the best week of practice. You knew that was the kiss of death, by the way, and I said it at the time. Best week of practice, I'm like, bet the house on the Patriots. And by the way, I did. I took the Patriots +7. If I'm going to have to watch this, I'm going to try and make some money on it. I can't do it anymore. PLN says, one of the worst teams in NFL with Super Bowl hopes. A joke. C writes, and I put my tickets for Thursday up for sale the second Greg missed that kick. If they blow it up, they better keep Garrett Wilson. He showed up. Appreciate you, Jake. I know you don't want to talk about this misery anymore. See, I appreciate it, man. Look, I'll say what I said again about Garrett. I'm not trading him. That guy has a high give-a-shit meter. I want guys like that on this team. I question the fight on a lot of guys. I question the competitiveness on a lot of guys on this team. I don't question that with Garrett. He wants to play. He wants to win. Here's the thing. Does he want to be here, though? Right? We want Garrett. At least I do. I think this fan base still does. Would you blame Garrett Wilson if he sees what's happening here? It didn't even work with Aaron Rodgers after he had Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian, Mike White, Joe Flacco, Josh Johnson, and some other jabroni I'm sure I missed. Oh, Chris Strebler throwing to him. Maybe he says, you know what? I don't want to deal with another rookie quarterback we're going to draft. See, other teams will draft a Jaden Daniels or draft a C.J. Stroud. We know what the Jets end up having to draft a quarterback now in the first round, which certainly seems like it's possible. We know they're not picking the right guy, and we're going to do this cycle all over again. Who's ready to argue with the Carson Beck truthers in his fan base? Oh, I can't wait. Let's go, baby. Fire it up. Stu writes in, I'm a White Sox and Jets fan. This is pain. God bless. Project Prospect with Dom C. Shout out to Dom. Dom, did you ever think when we left London it'd get this bad? Because I didn't. I knew it was bad then. I couldn't have imagined 2-6 as I was hanging out with Dom across the pond. It's now officially draft season, Jake. Let me know when you want to start talking prospects. Freaking gross that it's not Halloween yet. I'll tell you what. Thursday night, a lot of Jet fans will be dressed up as empty seats at Jet Life. You'll see that. And I'm such a schmuck, I'll be there. We did a group buy with 155 Asmaniacs. I'll be in section 128, baby. I might wear a bag on my head. By the way, if anyone wants to join us, I think people are just giving away tickets. So check the Discord if you want them. I had like 3 people privately message me. I haven't even answered yet because I've been working nonstop. But there's a good chance if you want to go to a Jet game on Thursday, we might be able to get you in. I won't be paying you to go, though. You're going on your own. I don't want to be responsible for that, all right? I know it's Halloween and all, but I don't want to take it too literally. I don't want to show you an actual horror show, all right? You do that on your own time. Omari says, Rex will be the coach next year. I don't see anyone else coming here. Look, it's still 1 of 32, but there's going to be a jet tax if you want a top guy. You're going to have to spend. Like Woody Johnson, don't take no for an answer. You know, if you identify, Ben Johnson or Mike Rabel, and these guys got other options, for example, you're going to have to pay big money. John, can only cross our fingers that Woody accidentally hires the right GM and coach. Chiefs were poverty till they landed Andy Reid. Yeah, look, and like I took calls from people tonight, the Jets are cursed, they'll never get it right. And I get that sentiment. I really do. But like that's not the way to look at it. Like you gotta hope that if you're a Jet fan, just like I am a Knicks fan, you eventually hire the right people. The Cubs eventually won the World Series. Unfortunately, it was so long, a lot of their diehards were dead and didn't get to see it. And God forbid that, if the Jets don't start winning soon, a lot of longtime fans aren't going to be around to see it. But my point is, like, the Red Sox were cursed until they weren't. And then they won the World Series in 2004. Then they won it again 3 other times. Look at the Chiefs, great example. New England was a joke until Brady got there with Belichick. You got to get the right people in, man. Even this year, the Commanders were a joke. And now look at them. I was in Houston. I worked for ESPN Houston for 6 years. I documented every step of the Deshaun Watson lawsuit saga. Jack Easterby was Google Jack Easterby, Jet fans. Look at this guy's background. This guy was running the team. He was a preacher. They got rid of him. They hired Nick Caserio. He hires D'Amico Ryans. They hit on C.J. Stroud, who, by the way, wasn't even their preference. They tried to get Bryce Young. But some teams just kind of luck into it. And then here we are as Jet fans. It's like, when are we ever going to get a break? When do we get our C.J. Stroud? When do we get our Jaden Daniels? When do we get our higher right, like Kyle Shanahan? Right? The Niners don't have great quarterbacks, but when do we get either the great coach or the great quarterback, or how about just competency at both? When do we ever get a break? Andrew says, how can it be positive that we would miss a field goal? I mean, the only lock we knew was that Zerline was missing a huge kick today. I mean, we all knew it. I watched this game with 100 Jet fans today. We all knew it. We all looked at each other and, like, some of us screamed. Some of us just laughed. I mean, and if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. Carlos says, we need an offensive-minded coach. You know what they need? They need a good coach. And to me, they really have 2 options when it comes to the head coach. One, they get a hologram of Weeb Eubank because he's the only one who's won. You try it with him. Or 2, it has to be either an offensive-minded guy or someone with experience that's actually had success at a high level. That's it. None of this first-time head coach as a defensive background. Can't do it. JJ says, just told my ticket rep, I'm done. Been a ticket holder since 2018 when Darnold was drafted. Can't do it to myself anymore. I'm a grown man and can cry. I don't blame any Jet season ticket holder who doesn't renew. Seriously, they're raising your prices. You don't know who the GM is. You don't know who the coach is. You don't know who the quarterback is, and they want you to pay now? Are you nuts? I mean, it makes no sense. If you want to go to a Jet game, just spend money on the secondary market. Maybe you got to pay a little more, but guess what? A couple less games you go to next year, probably worth it than spending thousands up front when you have no idea the direction this team is going. And the benefit of being a season ticket holder, right? Because I have friends who are Yankee season ticket holders or Knicks or Rangers, right? The benefit is you get face value for the playoffs. Well, guess what? This team hasn't won the division since 2002. What's more embarrassing? The playoff drought, longest in North American sports since 2010? Or the fact they haven't had a home playoff game since 2002? You tell me. And that's the benefit of being a season ticket holder. You get face value for home games, for the playoffs. Right? I got friends who are Knicks season ticket holders. They are spending a fortune. But you know what? It's actually cheaper to do it if they want to go to playoff games. And the Knicks will be in the playoffs. All right? The Yankees are in the playoffs every year. You're going to get value there. All right? Ranger fans, same thing. You're going to get value there. What value are you getting being a Jet season ticket holder right now? They're going to send you a yearbook with some ads in it? Woohoo! Wipe my ass with those ads. What a joke, man. It's disgusting. They broken me, man. I'm just probably a couple more days of anger, and then it's done. It's done. This is the last night of just pure anger. They could win, they could lose. It doesn't matter on Thursday. It's over. 2-6. Verdeen says, love the Jets, can't do it anymore. I'm just ashamed to be a fan. Softest in the NFL. Defense can't catch a cold. Yeah, I mean, it is sad what has happened to this defense. They've been demoralized. Ulbrich stretched too thin. Getting rid of Salah obviously was the wrong move. Timing of it, all that. It's just everything's ass backwards. Adding Reddick when the team's 2-5. Rye says Gruden won his settlement. Gruden for head coach. I don't know where you saw that. Obviously, if John Gruden would actually be an option, I would definitely consider him. You know, we talked about the high give a shit radar. John Gruden cares, man. Omari writes in, years from now, we'll look at this year as we wasted the AFC sucks. Look at our division. Yeah, I mean, I said this on the radio. It's a great point, Omari. The Dolphins are terrible. New England's not any good. Buffalo is good, but they're not as good as they've been. And we even saw that when the Jets blew it against them. Should have won that game. And the Jets just wasted it. With this kind of talent, they just wasted it. Edward with a super chat. Thank you. John writes in, it is absolutely amazing how the aura and success of such a superstar Hall of Fame quarterback instantly gets consumed by the black hole that is the New York Jets franchise. Yeah. I think Aaron Rodgers did not realize the undertaking he was taking on having to play quarterback for this team. And then he's been zapped of his mobility because I believe he's playing through an injury. He's not the same guy we saw a month ago. He's not. And he was still effective enough to win today. He was. But he has no lateral movement right now. And the pass rush gave him time today. Like, the offense was fine. The penalties remain a problem. The burning of the timeouts was a problem. But you know what? 22 points against the Patriots and their offense with their backup quarterback out there should have been enough to win today. Yeah, I didn't think Aaron Rodgers was spectacular today, but you know what? He went out there and he was 17 of 28 for 233, 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn it over. He got away with one brutal throw that could have been picked, but still. This, to me, is just about the fact this team is so poorly coached. This defense is nowhere near what it once was. They're soft. And it's just brutal. That's no ghost, says Jake, I'll be here every day with you. Jets for life. Amen. That's no ghost. Thank you. All right, let me pause real quick and talk about our sponsors here because without them, this postgame show wouldn't be what it is. We got 2 great ones. Let me mention each one, and then we're going to get into your calls, and we'll continue here with your super chats. The first one is custom bourbon tours. As soon as I get done with this, I will absolutely be having some bourbon that was sent to me by the team at custombourbontours.com. If you need a vacation, and sure enough, Jet fans, many of you probably need a vacation from watching this Jets team. Book your trip right now with custombourbontours.com. Experience an unforgettable day on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. They allow you, when you go to the website, custombourbontours.com, to pick your own distilleries that you want to visit, the vehicle you want to travel in. They offer flexible zero-interest payment plans, completely set up your private group outing in less than just 4 minutes online. So check it out. Once again, this company, I've talked about them all season. Liam, the owner of the company, is a Jet fan. He's from New York originally, so check out him and his team at custombourbontours.com. Book your next vacation with them if you're a bourbon drinker like I am. Top-notch stuff. They have sent me some of the bourbons that you get a chance to try when you go on these tours, and it's excellent. So I look forward to having some after the show tonight. custombourbontours.com. Also want to shout out Joe DeVizio and his team at Joe DeVizio Realty. Sellwithjoe.com for all the info. If you're thinking about selling your home, you got to call Joe. If you're dealing with a litany of different situations, bad tenant, squatters, whole house needs repairs, Joe and his team are the best at what they do for all these things. Once again, check out the website in the description. Give Joe a call tomorrow at 959-CALL-JOE. Once again, all the info in the description plus on the screen. Joe DeVizio and his team. Sellwithjoe.com. If you're in the tri-state area, Joe and his team can help you out. Sell your home or any of the other needs that your house might have. Check it out. All right. Edward, Super Chat. Team needs an attitude. Bring back Rex. Look, just to make this season watchable down the stretch, I'd make Rex the head coach today. Give Rex the next 9 games here. At least it'll be fun. Theo writes in, maybe now that they're officially bad, they'll play better. Yeah, this is what the Jets will do. They're going to start winning some games late so they can finish 6-11 or 7-10, and it won't matter because they're not finishing with just 2. Anyone who thinks this ends with the Jets getting a top 3 pick has not been following the history of the Jets. The Jets are not finishing with a top 3 pick. They won't. I know they're picking 4th right now, technically, because, hello, darkness, my old friend. I went to tankathon.com today. Oh, it's good to be back, baby. But they're not going to end up there. They're going to win some games late like they always do, and it's not going to matter. Watch. It's Snoopy says, Rodgers is washed up, goofy. Did you hear his post-game comments? You have to make peace with the darkness. He's losing his mind, Jake. I mean, to be fair to Aaron, they asked him about Ulbrich saying, they're in the darkness right now, and then Rodgers quipped that and then said, we all got to be, whatever. I don't care, Snoopy. All right? I don't care. I actually thought it was funny, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Team stinks. Brian says, Jake, thanks for your hard work, brother. I'm absolutely beat to a pulp, taking a break from this team, but will never jump ship. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? The Jet fan is not going to go that far. I mean, some of you aren't going to watch the show again after tonight, which sucks for my bottom line. But you'll be back in. But I don't think we'll ever reach hype and excitement like what we had going into this year again. I think there is some real long-term damage these last 2 seasons have done to the psyche of the fan base. Like, there's real PTSD now when I watch sports. When I see a star player on one of my teams go down with any injury, I always assume it's the worst after Rodgers' injury last year. And now, I don't know if I could ever truly be excited again the way I was after what this season has done. Ace of Spades, should the Jets call Randy Mueller? Well, if they do, I would love that because Randy's awesome. Willie writes in, softest D-line in the NFL, old players past their primes, terrible coaches, lackadaisical, was going to the Texans game, but refused to give them my hard-earned money, I believe you mean. Yeah. Look, I'm going to the Texans game. If I wasn't hosting 150 of my listeners, I wouldn't be going. This will be my last home game I go to all year. I'm done. Angel says, we look like a JV team tonight. I hate it here. They do. Whitney, thanks for signing up to be an Asmaniac. I appreciate it. Worth 5 cents writes in, was going to the game in Arizona in a few weeks, sold the tickets, got a golf in Scottsdale, and said, can't put myself through this misery. I get it. Isn't that sad? You were going to the game in Arizona, and you're like, I'm good. I'll just watch it on TV. I'll play golf instead. Michael says, see you all Thursday. I mean, you'll see me there, Michael, but you're also going to see a lot of Jet fans dressed up as empty seats. And you're also going to see a lot of Jet fans, I'd imagine, wearing bags on their heads. I'm going to find a bag to wear on my head for Thursday. Adam writes in, we're 15 months ahead of schedule at least. When do we start the mock drafts? Should I ask Benigno tomorrow what quarterback he wants? Oh, the pain. Canadian says, I have been a fan of this team for far too long. 1 winning season in 15 years. All my Jets merch in a box. How do we move forward? I don't know. I got asked this a lot tonight. I'm down bad right now. I got to think. I don't know what the answer is. Oh, Jake, Woody needs to sell the team. Great. Anyone could go on the radio and say Woody Johnson's bad and should sell the team. He's not selling the team. Now what? What's your plan then? You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Sometimes we have to listen to our youth. All right? So I'm opening up the Gusbuster hotline right now. And I'm going to have 13-year-old Connor Long tell us how we can fix this franchise. Connor, you've never seen good football in your life. So give us an idea on what needs to be done to change that.
Jake, this team sucks. It's plain and simple. They suck. I don't think I've ever seen a Jets season. Obviously, I haven't seen a Jets season with this much anticipation, but I mean, the season's over before the calendar even turned to November. At least last year, Jake, that Black Friday game was somewhat meaningful. With 2022, they were still playing meaningful games at the end of December. Now the season's over, and it's not even November. I think a lot of it, obviously it's easy to blame Woody Johnson for, the way he runs the team. I think the word is dysfunctional to describe this franchise, the way it's run, because you look at Joe Douglas and he really, it almost seems that Woody Johnson, especially over the past few weeks, is turning into that Jerry Jones type of owner where he's taking over everything. Now you look at someone like Aaron Rodgers who wants to be a leader. He wants to be that coach on the field. Now he's, getting some of the blame. Well, did he really fire Robert Saleh? And then I think it gets to a point where it's a bit confusing for the players. Well, who do we really believe? Is it Aaron Rodgers who's coaching this team, or is it Jeff Ulbrich? So I do think there is a bit of miscommunication there. I mean, Greg the leg, Greg Zuerlein, he needs to be cut tomorrow. I mean, that was just terrible. I'm tired of watching the same thing from him every single week. I'm really at a loss for words. It's the same story every week. season's over before November, and I'll say it now, Jake. This team, I don't think they're going to win another game this season. I hate to break it to
Wow.
you.
They broke Connor Long.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win another game. The only game I could see that they maybe have a shot in is the Jacksonville game, but I'm still not completely sold in that game. How are you feeling win-loss? I think their floor right now is where they're at 2 wins. I'd say their ceiling is 4 wins.
Now, Connor, you're a little younger than me. I'll tell you how this is going to go. They're going to win a couple games because it'd be too easy for them just to bottom out and only win 2 games, right? At that point, they'd phantom IR Rodgers, or he would actually be hurt.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It'd be too easy. They're going to win some games. They're probably going to finish with 5 or 6 wins. You watch. You'll see it.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers, though. Do you think he's going to retire? I think he's going to get beat up too much. I think he's going to retire after the season ends.
Yeah, I don't think he's the quarterback next year here. Good call, Connor. Good job starting us off. I don't know if he'd want to be, and I also don't know if it makes sense for him to even play next year. He's banged up. I don't know. If he wanted to come back next year because he's under contract, I think what would need to obviously happen is you don't hire the coach or the GM based on what he wants. You hire the right football people and let them decide what they want to do. And if Rodgers is here and like he's, starting and a rookie is right behind him, fine. That's a plan. But I don't think he's going to be here next year. I don't. I think this is a complete teardown from the standpoint of like the power structure being completely different from GM, coach, and quarterback. But I'll tell you what, Connor, they are going to win some games, man. It'd be too easy for them just to lose out. They're going to win games and hurt their draft pick at the end, which, once again, before we all freak out about them winning some games, just know it's going to happen. It won't hurt as much. They're not going to be bad enough to lose all these games, as bad as it is right now. The Adam Gase Jets won 2 of their last 3 games. So this team is going to win a couple games here. If they actually had a kicker, they would maybe have 3 more wins right now. So they're going to get a new kicker this week. There's no way that guy could be worse than Zerline. They're going to win a couple games here. They are. Wild Wave writes in, Woody decided to nuke the whole season, ruin the rebuild, and handle the Salah firing. Terrible, Jake. You still bricked up. Look, you could blame Woody. And that's fine. He owns the team. But put some onus on the players. Put some onus on the GM who hired the coach. All right. This team shouldn't be 2-6. If Joe Douglas wasn't asleep and they had a different kicker, they'd have another win or 2 right now. I mean, you could say Woody handled the Salah firing terrible, but this is a fan base that would universally praise that decision. So, be fair. Ruined a rebuild. I don't think so. I don't think it was a mistake trying to go after Aaron Rodgers. What was the solution? Zach Wilson in year 3? We saw that. How'd that work? Sign Derek Carr? How's that working? Sign Jimmy G? How would that have worked? It didn't work, but I don't think the idea of trading for Rodgers, what ended up being 2 second-round picks, that didn't set this franchise back. They just got the wrong decision makers, man, because it started with botching the Zach Wilson selection. It also started when you had the wrong head coach. Robert Saleh's had a good head coach. Maybe one day he will be, right? Todd Bowles is decent now. But it didn't work. I think the issues you have now is, okay, now what? Who are the football people that are going to come in and make decisions? And you have no faith in this guy hiring the right people. That's the problem. Super Trucker with a super chat. I'm pissed, Jake. WTF was that? I don't know, man. I'm on hour 5 straight of talking this, so I don't know. Robert says, can we just face the Panthers only rest of the season? Just let the Jets and Panthers scrimmage every week. Robert writes in, the Panthers, by the way, would probably beat the Jets right now. Let's be honest. Could someone set the edge? Quarterbacks just running for days, missing Jermaine Johnson badly. Should have gave up 2 firsts for Lamar in 2023. Yeah, I'm not going down that path. Since he says, I know life isn't fair, but it just shouldn't be. It's inconceivable this team's 2-6. Jet fans should stop showing up and supporting this team. Jake, you need a BetterHelp sponsor. Well, people tell me that these post-game shows are like therapy, so maybe we do need BetterHelp to jump on board so people can get actual therapy, because I'm definitely not a licensed therapist. I'm just a disgruntled, angry, pissed off Jet fan. Dre says, same old Jets. Sorry, Jake. They suck so bad. Dre, I'm starting to think Garrett Wilson might not score 28 touchdowns this season, bud. Starting to think it's not going to happen. Shim Shack Collectibles. My condolences for y'all diehard Jet fans. Here's a drink on me. Rodgers needs to fix their O and D lines. Hope your kicker walked home. Yeah, I mean, just... Remember Greg the Leg? Good times. Yo, Cat says, we're at a point where we need to trade some of the young pieces for draft picks for a rebuild. I mean, are we? Or could this GM come in and say, hey, there is some talent here. Why don't we try and hire the right coaching that could get the most out of it? You know? Just an idea. Play devil's advocate. Instead of blow the whole thing up and hope that the GM then can hit on these picks that we have no idea what they're going to be. Maybe, I don't know, we keep a Garrett Wilson who's really good. You know? And we try and win games. We keep Quincy Williams. We hire a good head coach and we hire, you know, a good general manager, and we try and win like what Washington was able to do immediately, or what Houston was able to do immediately. Look, by the way, go look at the 2022 draft, right? Look at the draft order. Look at the top 5 of that draft. Each of those teams, besides the Jets, has already made the playoffs since that historic draft class the Jets had. Jacksonville's made it. Detroit has made it. Even the Giants had a year where they didn't suck and they made the playoffs with Daniel Jones. Houston has made it. They're going to make it again. So seriously, that was in 2022, right? Doesn't take that long to be a playoff team in today's NFL where 7 teams get in. Go look at the 2022 draft, and of the teams in the top 5 that year, right, the Sauce Garrett draft, only the Jets have not made the postseason. Rebuilds don't need to take forever. PBM writes in, he called me on the radio tonight. Since 2019, we'd forced 200 fumbles and recovered 2. You know, I actually believe that stat. So Dak Jet says, with Woody hiring, you got to consider keeping JD. I guess. I would not. I'll roll the dice on hiring someone else. He's 29 and 62, guys. All right, he botched the head coach hire. He botched the quarterback. He botched the kicking situation. He botched the backup quarterback situation last year. He's going to get to hire a second head coach? Really? Maurice says, would you hire Gruden next year? You know that a team wouldn't have the penalties and F on effort. We would be competitive. Yeah, I would consider John Gruden. Now, he's suing the NFL, so I don't know if he could get back in. But I would consider it. I mean, when Gruden got fired, he was 3-2 with the Raiders. You know, he's won a Super Bowl before. He's experienced. He's an offensive-minded guy. I don't hate the idea. Would he still do his YouTube show if he was the Jet coach? And if so, would he want to come on my show once a week to discuss the Jets? Mr. writes in, I think Kingsbury can win here with Jordan Travis. I don't know what Jordan Travis is. He's a day 3 pick. No team is being like, all right, Jordan Travis, you're the guy. Like, he'll get a chance to probably compete for a job next year if they go with a rookie. As far as Cliff Kingsbury, look, people laugh. I don't think that's the worst idea. Right? We're starting to see, you know, maybe a failed head coach first time around. Second time around, they're going to be better. Dan Quinn, Todd Bowles. You know, but if we're going to go that route, I would hire Mike Vrabel because he actually was pretty good and Titans fans were shocked they fired him. Altoona writes in, we needed Sonny Weaver, Coach Penn, Bo Callahan, Dante Mack to get this franchise turned around. Let me tell you something. Sonny Weaver was a bad general manager. All right, he got lucky. All right. He's so concerned about banging Jennifer Gardner than actually being a GM during the draft. Please. Sonny Weaver is an overrated general manager. Harry writes in, I'm a 69-year-old Jets fan. I think I will not live long enough to see another Jets Super Bowl. Harry, I hate to be morbid, but you're no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I hope that's not true. All right. I hope that's not true. I wish I could tell you for sure that you're going to see another Super Bowl, but you know, I've been a Jet fan my whole life, and I haven't come close to experiencing a Super Bowl, so I don't know. Cheeseman says, woke up from my alcohol-induced nap, and I'm sad today's game wasn't just a fever dream. So much pain. Nightmare. Richard said, Niner fan here. Firing Saleh broke this team. They were not going to win anything with Saleh, but I think it's clear firing him has just expedited how bad it's gotten. You know what I mean? Like they were not going to win anything with Saleh, so I almost understood what he was doing with that decision. But obviously, he's got to know better to do it, right? Because the thing with that move is he apparently didn't really talk with Joe Douglas about it. He just did it. Don't you got to consult with your GM and be sure it's the right move before you do it? Before you make that emotional decision? I don't know. I can't sit here and say I disagreed with it. I thought it was a little soon. I thought he was getting fired, though. They lost to the Bills. So he did it a week earlier than we expected. I think it just expedited the shit show, but this team was going nowhere anyway. Allison writes, and I think Zach is behind us mass-causing games. Let me try and reread this here. I think it's Zach behind us mass-causing games. We'll come back to that one, Allison. Cheeseman, Connor should be GM. I would have more faith in Connor Long than anyone Woody might hire. GM says, Jake, they have a good squad except for a few pieces. It's coaching. A new head coach will instill discipline and attitude. Ben Johnson and Rex. If you think Rex Ryan's coming back to the Jets as a DC, you're nuts. You're nuts. Rex is either the head coach or he's not coming here. Big fella, we're 5-3 if Greg makes his damn kicks. How the hell does he still have a job? Because his GM is asleep. Clemens needs to pack his bleep too. In Jets fashion, we win Thursday. I love the in Jet fashion. They're not winning Thursday. I'll be there, big fella, though. I'll be watching the game with you. I can't wait. You won't be able to find me, though. I'll be the guy with a bag on my head. Mr. Juan Soto, got no words for this team. Season on the line, and you can't stop Brissett when it matters most. Stadium will be empty. Fans can only take so much. Go Jets. Agreed. Tony says 750 milliliter of Jameson Black Barrel to the head. Sounds painful. Robert writes in, maybe if he was called Greg Two Legs, he'd be good. Greg the Peg Leg. I mean, he can't kick, man. Oh, scurvy. He's like a pirate with his peg leg. If you're one of the 2,200 people still watching right now, first off, thank you. You guys are awesome. Can we get over 1,000 likes? We're at 675. And more importantly, I'm close to 40,000 subscribers. We are the largest Jet channel on YouTube, and that's because of the great community. So if you guys could please click that subscribe button, it goes a long way. And by the way, let me throw this out there. I should have mentioned it earlier, but I got distracted. Yankee fans, I'm hosting a Game 4 watch party at Vanderbilt Market, which is right next to Grand Central for Game 4 of the World Series. Hopefully the Yanks win tomorrow, and Game 4 is to try and even up the series. Either way, Yankee Dodgers, watch it with me and the ESPN New York Street team. Be doing a meet and greet with listeners beforehand. I'll be there at 7. First pitch just after 8. All the info's on my social media, but Vanderbilt Market for Game 4 of the World Series, right next to Grand Central Station in Midtown Manhattan. All right. Derek says, Saleh gets fired, our D quit on us. Yep. Big fella says, Sauce got beat by a guy named Booty. I mean, Sauce's play is Booty right now. And I've defended Sauce a little bit, right? Some games, I didn't think he was bad. He just wasn't targeted. I'm not defending him today. He sucked today. He was awful on those last 2 touchdown drives by New England. All right, we went to our youngest Jet fan first. Why don't we go to one of our oldest OG Jet fans that supports this show? I was with him in person today watching this debacle. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil is up next. Hello, Neil.
Hey, Jake, my brother. Jake, my brother.
Neil, can I ask you something? What was the reaction like as the Patriots scored the touchdown? Because I already went into the back room where I had the radio equipment set up because I had to do the show. So what was the reaction like inside T-Squared as one of the worst nightmares that we've ever experienced was culminating in real time?
Well, let me set the scene. I had my cigar in hand. I was in the golf simulator, and there were 2 hockey sticks there, right? So I envisioned when the game was finally over and we won that I was going to grab 2 hockey sticks and do the thing like this with hockey sticks. And every Asmaniac was going to be behind me, and I was going to puff on a cigar with Joe B, and everybody was going to go, we were going to have the big celebration. Then it came to reality. And, look, Joe B, these guys, we all seen this thing. We've seen this play 1,000 times. It's like going to the longest play on Broadway and going to it every single night and expecting something different to happen. Okay, my wife needs a divorce. Okay. Anyway, now my wife's not in a great mood. Needless to say.
She put you on a darkness retreat, Neil.
I'm in the darkness. Now, let me just say, this whole mess started way back in free agency. If you remember, I had a rant like Peter that we didn't do anything the first day of free agency. We didn't take any of the big name free agents. We waited because Joe Douglas is so smart that he waited. He got Tyron Smith for $6.5 million instead of getting somebody for $60 million who could actually block. Okay. Then we went and got rid of Brees Huff, who was one of our better players.
Well, that's the criticism, right? I mean, like if you're going to point to the GM's offseason moves, it's this defensive line, which was a strength the last 2 years of the team, completely had its legs taken out from under it with dumping JFM for nothing, not replacing Bryce Huff's production. The Reddick situation is a disgrace. When you had Clowney in your building, could have had him. And I said it in real time, so I don't feel bad saying it now. And then the other thing is JFM getting hurt, like, They weren't prepared for it because think about it. This defense for 2 years suffered no major injuries, and now they lose JFM in week 2. They haven't been the same, or they lose JJ in week 2, and they haven't been the same defense.
But let me ask you a question: if you're the GM and your job is on the line, right, and you lose JJ the second game of the season, right? Why not in an all-out win season give Reddick $22 million or $25 million and let the guy be in shape? Now, I know we're all bitching at Reddick, okay? But you can't expect the guy to come in here and start sacking people when he's been sitting on a sofa for 6 months, okay? Let's start with that, okay? In fairness, all right? Quentin Jefferson, we let walk out the door. Who did we replace him with? Who were our fatties on the defensive line to stop the run? Where was our replacement for Al Woods? Where was our replacement? So we don't do any of those things, okay? And JD gets a pass? No. No. Now, talking about coaching in-game situations, okay? I look at Spagnuolo. I look at defensive coordinators. It's the last drive of the game. We have all 3 of our corners. Our secondary is intact right now. And who are their receivers? Booty, Schmoody, and Cootie that can't even catch a football. So why don't we, I have an idea. Why don't we all out blitz Brissett, who can't move like the quarterback he replaced, and at least all out blitz the guy and make him panic into a throw that maybe creates a turnover or something substantial could happen.
And they never force turnovers, so why not try and do something different? Because you don't have the same personnel that's what I mean when they're poorly coached. They do not have the same personnel they've had the last couple of years. But they still run the same defense. And
it's the same 4 players at the end of the game. We still see Michael Clemens going like this with the offensive tackle having a wrestling match while Brissett's back there looking downfield and getting a shot to do something. You got an all-out blitz in that situation because they do the same thing over and over and over again. They trot out Zerline. They do this. They do that. Now, I made a lot of money today because, the $15,000 a year I spend between season tickets and traveling to see this game, there's no way in God's green earth that I'm giving another $15,000 to this team. I don't give a shit if they put me. My conditions are going to be as follows. Okay, I will re-sign my season tickets if and only if we have our draft selections made by the Asmaniacs, Dom C and Green Bean and Jets, the other guy, 24/7. Let's make them select, okay? Because this is not your thing, Jake. The draft thing is not your thing. So let's that guys be the draft. Allen selects the general manager and defensive and offensive coordinator. Okay, I will make those my conditions for me to re-up my season tickets.
I
don't
want
know
you
if
in the
Columbus-
head coaching interviews with Woody, or the GM interviews.
Okay.
Now.
Well,
Put that in
and
your
let me
conditions.
let me just say this to you, and I have the answer for the coaching situation, because the reality is this: I don't want to blow this team up. We have a real good roster talent. Now, we had very good roster talent back in the day when we hired Bill Parcells, right? Because Bill Parcells came in and we had a quarterback who was also at the end of his career, Brett Favre. And
Vinny Testaverde.
oh no, what we had Vinny Testaverde, but
Are you talking about Parcells in 97 and 98? Or
yeah. Well, okay, back that up. Okay, now when we came into that coaching change, okay, he immediately made us a better team because we had a good roster. We had a very shitty defense that year that he came in. And who straightened out that defense, Jake, and made it top 5? Who? Who was the coach? Bill Belichick was the coach.
No, I mean, I agree with you that
Hang on. I'm not finished. Please let me get my words in, because I could probably never call you again because my wife's divorcing me. She said don't go on the show anymore. But
what was the problem? What did you do?
I told her I'm giving up on the Jets, and she was very happy because she doesn't have to watch it either, because she watches the games and gets just as miserable as me. But she wants me not to root for them anymore, so she has the reason not to root for them. But the good news is I'm going to be Halloween at my house in East Moriches. My wife makes these beautiful big candy things, like 5 pieces of candy, like $10 a piece. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer all the trick-or-treaters that come to my house the rest of my tickets for the rest of this year. But I guess they're going to not take the tickets and take the candy instead. I guess that's going to be the answer when I get to the door.
Neil, you don't have to pay people to take your tickets off your hands.
I know. But
and you have amazing seats. For those who don't know, I sat with Neil for the opener last year, and Neil's right on the 50-yard line. They're incredible seats.
Let me just say this to you. Josh McDaniel with Aaron Rodgers as the OC, Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator.
Are you talking about Belichick? I can't do this. No.
Listen to me. Belichick will make the defense better, and he will work well and win with an existing roster we have.
Have you heard what he has said about Woody Johnson? First off, Belichick, I think, is beyond overrated, because look at it. His winning percentage without Brady is worse than Rex Ryan's career winning percentage. So let's start there.
What is his winning record with Brady? We have Brady. We have Aaron Rodgers.
We don't, though. He's not Brady, man. He's first off, he's 41. Brady didn't suffer an Achilles at age 40 like Aaron has. And what we're seeing here clearly is the team is not as talented as the team that Brady went to, right? Brady went to a team that had more talent than ultimately this Jets team had, unfortunately.
This Jet team has the talent, Jake.
They do, but they don't have the coaching right now, Neil. And Belichick's not coming here. But I don't hate the idea of hiring someone with experience and saying, hey, Aaron, you can maybe be the quarterback next year, but they have to also have a succession plan in place where they're probably drafting someone in the first round. Like, it can't be all about we're doing whatever we can do to make a run with Rodgers. It's, hey, Aaron, you can be the quarterback if you want to be here for one more year because you're under contract. And we got to have another plan in place where we don't just throw a rookie out there to the Wolves. Maybe he's sitting for a year and developing, because the last time they tried that, Chad Pennington sat behind Vinny and that worked. So maybe they need to do that with Aaron this time.
Right. That makes sense. But the reality is, what about the coach? What about having a coach that could make the most out of the existing roster we have, rather than trying these, look, if you're going to hire Mike Vrabel, okay, that's like getting the Gerard Mayo. Why get a coaching tree guy?
He's better than that. Neil, he went to an AFC championship game with Ryan Tannehill.
But he was 6-10 his last season. He got fired.
Yeah, because look at Will Levis. That was his quarterback. The one quarterback the Jets were able to beat this year.
I think, look, reality-wise, it's either Chucky Gruden or Bill Belichick with the existing roster we have. Or we tear the whole goddamn thing down and start from scratch and suck for another 10 years. Because we're not going to be good for another 10 years if we don't keep the existing roster and take a shot with what we have.
And your wife might kill you over the next 10 years, and you won't experience any winning.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't anticipate. Look, we both agree, and the chat agrees. This roster is a good roster. It will be there next year. We'll make a few tweaks. We'll get rid of all the crappy one-year deals we signed and maybe get something better. But I trust, let me just say this to you. When Bill Belichick came in with our defense, we turned into such a great defense because he could take mediocre talent and make the best defense out of it. You can't disagree with
it's
that.
30 years ago.
Jake, I've made all 13 of my points. Before you cut me off again, I'm going to throw myself out this goddamn window.
I can't do the Belichick stuff. First off, he's never coming here. He has continuously shat on Woody Johnson every week since they fired Saleh. He knows he's never coming here, and Woody would never hire him. I agree with the premise of, though, hiring someone with experience. So I'd look at Vrabel. I'd look at Gruden. I'd also look at the Browns are actually going to fire Kevin Stefanski. That'd be my number one choice. This guy's been a 2-time coach of the year. He's an offensive-minded guy. He's young. I would hire him. But you need to hire a GM first. And by the way, Neil, go look at Vrabel's record. 9-7, 9-7, 11-5, 12-5. Went to an AFC title game with Tannehill. Yeah, obviously, the last year was ugly there, but there were a lot of factors outside of his control. That's why Titans fans were furious they fired him. I think what it comes down to is this. You got to get the GM hire first and then the coaching hire. And then you figure it out. If that GM wants to retool, I'm okay with that approach because I don't think you blow everything up. There's going to be some changes you make along the margins, sure. But, like, why aren't we in such a rush to trade Garrett Wilson or Jermaine Johnson or Brees or Sauce? You don't think with better coaching and a better kicking game, this team can't be competing for a playoff spot next year? Look at the Commanders. How much different is their roster? Oh, wait, they hit on coach and quarterback. The Texans, guys, I did radio in Houston for 6 years. My last year on the air in Houston, the Texans were picking second overall. They blew the number one pick because Lovie Smith, out of spite, won the last game of the season, costing them Bryce Young. How's that working out? And now look what's happened. They luck into C.J. Stroud. They got the head coaching hire right with DeMeco Ryans, and they're a championship contender. These rebuilds don't have to take, forever. It doesn't have to take 10 years of sucking. The Jets just need to pick the right people. It didn't take the Knicks that long to go from the abyss to actually being a legit contender. Look what they did. Look what Leon Rose inherited in 2020. And some of the moves he made around the players he inherited and then made smart signings, smart trades. They built it up and then made that final all-in move with the Towns trade to go for it. And entered the year with the second highest odds in the East to get to the finals. Like, Dolan's not a good owner, but he got the right people running the show. Woody's got to get the right people running the show. That's where it starts. Because this GM is not here next year. There's no way. And he shouldn't be. All right? Even if you're the biggest Joe Douglas truther ever. The justification for Greg Zuerlein kicking today is the biggest slap in the face to anyone who's a fan of Joe Douglas. Because I want a GM that learns from his mistakes. He's making the same goddamn mistake he made last year. The only difference is it's not backup quarterback, it's kicker this time. Quarterback, you could say, well, it's hard to learn a new offense if you bring someone in. Oh, well, like maybe Zach with better team could show you something. They were for it. Like, the truth is for Joe could explain it a little bit. I'm not buying it. Never have, never will. But you can't explain not getting a new kicker. This guy's cost you 2 games before today. And even if they won today, while we're not celebrating it, at least you have some hope going to Thursday. Now it's like, what are we talking about? Curvin with a super chat. Rodgers admitted that he decided to take the 5 hats on the 2-point conversion because he didn't like the defense. Who was running the show? 5 hats. What do you mean? He decided to take the delay a game on the 2-point? I mean, I don't know what to tell you, Curvin. The reason why they had to go for 2 is because they don't have a kicker in the first place. It all comes back to that today. Cincy Matt writes, and this channel is what it is because of you, Jake. Only a show as entertaining as this could have Cincy fan watching the show about a 2-6 New York team at 10 p.m. on a Sunday. I appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who tunes in, man. I can't say it enough. I get so angry. I feel like a lot of times I I don't want my anger to be misconstrued as like not appreciating the people who support the channel because I love you guys. Everyone I met today was awesome. It's just, and I'm tired of it, man. All these great events we've done this year. We've done more events this year than any other year. And the team's 2-6. This fan base deserves so much more. Michael says, if you're not willing to trade Sauce, then trade Reed. I would trade DJ Reed. And it's not because I don't love DJ Reed. I just think at 2-6, he's someone who's an expiring contract who you maybe even can get a 4th-round pick for. But who's making that decision? Joe Douglas, who I don't think is here? GM Woody Johnson? And I don't think Woody has the pride to become a seller after he was a buyer 2 weeks ago. I don't think he'll do it. He'll sell himself on, well, let's see what happens after Houston first. So then my plea to Woody would be after the Jets lose to Houston and they're 2-7. Can we do it then? Because this team's not going anywhere. They went from being poorly coached to not having a coach. I thought Oberg would be better than this. I did. I think he stretched too thin. The first 2 games, I wasn't ready to necessarily say that because they faced a really good, quarterback at Allen, tough circumstance. But last week, how do you explain this defense getting punched in the mouth and allowing 31 unanswered? How do you explain today when with Carter and Reed back? I know Mosley got hurt, but you know what? Jamie Sherwood's a better player at this stage than Mosley is anyway. It's not an excuse. How do you excuse what happened at the end of this game today? How? J-Mo says, I watch a lot of Jets YouTube content. The amount of white guys thinking that hiring a known racist to coach mostly black players is insane. I would be careful when you use the word racist, all right? All right? Maybe do a little homework on what exactly John Gruden got fired for and the context of it and all that. And also, I'm not defending what he said, but it wasn't, I don't want to go down. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go down that path. I'm not touching it. I don't have it in me right now. Jetpack writes in, we will never experience joy again. Will we? I hope. Oh, we'll probably have joy in the offseason. The Jets will hire some slam dunk candidate that everyone's praising, just like Joe Douglas, just like Robert Saleh. And then slowly but surely, after the first 3 and out, I'll have super chats from people saying, fire so-and-so. And the cycle will repeat. I can picture it now, folks. Jets hire the can't-miss GM candidate. Can't-miss coaching candidate. They start the year at home against the Dolphins in the home opener. The Jets blow a game they should win. Probably lose 23-20. And the first call I get on the postgame show next September will be from this guy saying, fire everybody.
Allen alert, fraud alert, curmudgeon alert, Allen alert. Nobody likes this shitbag.
Oh, Jacob, what's going on? When Neil on Friday said that this was going to be an easy win, that should have been his final call, okay? And tell Neil, by the way, Bill Belichick, you have a better chance of coaching this team than Bill Belichick. He has absolutely no desire to come here.
I don't want him either,
couple
by the way. I do not want him either.
He's never coming here, and I don't want him either, okay? For those who continue to defend this GM, at 33 games under 500, I don't understand. Someone needs to explain. I understand Bonesy loves him, and there are other people in this chat who think he's the greatest thing because Idzik and McCagnon were incompetent. But it's time. 33 games under 500, it's over. And again, I'll tell you right now, you will never hear from him again. The next time you will hear about Joe Douglas is when he becomes a player personnel guy in the Philly or the Baltimore organization. He will never speak again as a Jets GM.
No, he'll be on TV, man. He'll be on TV like Tannenbaum and every other failed GM and coach. He'll be on ESPN. He'll be a coworker of mine by next year. Watch.
But the problem I have with the Jets now is they're stuck. Okay. They're 2-6. We're 9-10 days away from the trade deadline. And you made this point correctly. Why have him here still trading our assets? He's going to be gone anyhow. I mean, this is where Woody caught himself in a bind when he praised the GM a couple of weeks ago. He cannot be the guy who's going to be trading these players. He just can't. He's not going to be here next year.
Well, that's probably why they're going to do nothing. That's to your point. That's why I don't see them making, like, they might trade Mike Williams. Gee, like, ooh, like, okay, here, get ready for the old, hey, we're going to trade a 7th to get a 6-pack, the old pick swap. Like, that's what's going to happen here.
I had an issue last year when they held on to Huff and didn't trade him when they had an opportunity to, and they let him go, a 10.5 sack guy, for nothing.
Yeah,
and
but,
I feel
Alan,
like
at least last year they were 4-3 at the trade deadline. It made more sense not to jettison your best pass rusher. You know what I mean? Like, this year, there's no justification for not trying to see what's out there for some of these veterans on 1-year deals.
So to me, I would call the Lions. Again, I talk about the Lions all the time. The Lions, their quarterback threw for 85 yards and they scored 52 points today, which is bananas. Okay. If I was them, they know they need help on defense. I would call them and say, here's DJ Reed and here's Hassan Reddick for the year, and see what you can get out of them. Those are the two guys right now who I think you can get the most for. I would trade them both before another team trades him a pass rusher and a defensive back. Again, this team is going absolutely nowhere right now. Why hold on to these guys? It's ridiculous. And again, I blame Woody as much as I blame everybody else, but you got to fire this GM before making these moves. He cannot be the one making these moves because he's gone in less than 2 months.
Unless he's not gone, which is scary, but unless he's not gone.
The idea that he keeps his job at 33 games under 500, let's say they finish 7-10, okay? The idea that he comes back another season is when you realize this organization is not serious.
I agree with you. I agree. I agree.
He has to go. I don't get it. I understand he had 4 nice players in the 2022 draft, but you look at the rest of his job, he hired the wrong coach, he drafted the wrong quarterback, he picked the wrong offensive tackle, and again, he cannot keep his job. And one other thing about this Sauce Gardner, okay? I know he's going to ask for $25 million plus. He's the guy I definitely worry about on a second contract. He's afraid to tackle anybody, and now he's just struggling against mid-tier wide receivers. It's ridiculous. He doesn't turn people over. He's afraid to hit anybody. And this is the same guy in the next 2 years who's going to ask for $30 million a year. Again, I would trade him this offseason. I really would. I do. I would trade him. And if you're going to bring in a new GM and you look at this roster, I know Neil says it's such a great roster. Maybe it's not. They have talent, but sometimes I think people in this chat, and I agree, I'm one of them, maybe we overhype some of this talent. Maybe Garrett Wilson isn't a number one. Maybe Sauce Gardner isn't a great player. Maybe Jermaine Johnson isn't a number one pass rusher. Maybe it's time to realize it didn't work, and unfortunately, you have Aaron maybe for another season. That's why they're stuck. They don't know who they're going to. I have no idea who they're going to hire because I don't think any of the top candidates will come here. I think they're going to get a retread, maybe of Rabel. Hopefully, if Gruden settles his lawsuit, maybe he comes here. But none of the hot young offensive coaches or defensive coaches or even top-notch defensive coordinators are going to want to deal with this bullshit. It's ridiculous.
That's the one pushback I'll have, Alan. It's still 1 of 32. It pays incredibly well. These jobs are really hard to get. You could still get good candidates. The Jets remind me a lot of like the Chargers from last year. Right? Like there is some talent there and they just need the coach. And this team's more talented than that Charger team that Harbaugh took over. As far as trading Sauce, you're trading him now when his value is terrible. Like, what's the point? I don't know if I'm giving him an extension, right? Let him play on the 4th year of his 5-year rookie contract. You know? Because Sauce hasn't had a good year. All right, at times, you know, his coverage is still good, but he's not coming up with turnovers. Tackling leaves a lot to be desired. We knew that. But when he's shutting everyone down, making plays, and he's leading the NFL in pass deflections, you live with it. Like, Dion wasn't a good tackler. He's not Revis. We know that. But Sauce has just been bad, man, at times this year. But the one pushback I'll have is how no one's going to want to come here. I don't buy that. I don't. Ugh, I think I'm now allergic to the Jets. They're killing me. Some more super chats here. J Mull writes in, I watch a lot. Actually, I already read that one. Never mind. Uno Jets. Love my Jets, but I desperately need a Jets break. If they do something crazy like putting on a winning streak together, maybe they'll will me in back season, but I doubt it. Peace. Well, thanks for the super chat. I mean, it's too late for a winning streak. Unless the winning streak is now 9 wins in a row. What are we talking about? All right, that's really it. I mean, they needed to go 8-2, I thought, to guarantee a playoff spot. They already just lost one of those 2 losses. So now can they go 8-1 the rest of the way? No. No. Jetpack says, I remember talking to you in London about how our fan base was going to meltdown, going 2-3 if we lost. Feels like 10 years ago. I can't believe it's this bad. Yeah, Jetpack, I remember that conversation well. It was right before I convinced you to sack up and go say hi to Wayne Corbett, who was at our party. Which, by the way, he did. So credit to Jetpack. He got his photo with Wayne. It's bad, man. I mean, I never could have imagined it'd be this bad, though. Like, once again, I said this on the radio a lot tonight. Like, even if you were a pessimistic fan of this team, even if you didn't believe this team was actually going to be as good as some thought, like, I thought they'd win the division. 2-6 with this team still is talented. I don't think you got to tear everything down. You obviously, I think, should think long and hard about moving some guys you can get something for now. DJ Reed, Tyler Conklin, etc. But to blow the whole thing up and trade Sauce and Garrett and Jermaine, like, I don't think that's the right move necessarily. I think you bring in a GM, you bring in a coach, you have an honest conversation with Rodgers saying, hey, you could be the quarterback next year, but we're also going to be drafting a guy. We're going to make moves in the best interest of the long term. We're not all in to try and win this year like we were by getting you Devontae and signing Tyron Smith and Mike Williams. No, we're going to be trying to make moves for sustained winning, but you could still be the quarterback. If that's what Rodgers wants to do, he might say, I'm good, I'm going to retire. But, like, they have now fallen to a point where the decisions need to be about the Jets and winning beyond this year because they're not winning this year. All the other moves were made to try and win with this roster around the quarterback. It's over. That is now sailed. So now it's who are the football people that are running the team and what is their plan to try and get this team on track. It doesn't need to take 5 years. I laugh when it's like, well, Douglas needed time. Look what he inherited. Do you see what Nick Caserio inherited in Houston? You see what Brad Holmes inherited in Detroit? You see what Adam Peters inherited in Washington? Seriously. Joe Douglas's best draft was 2022. The thing we all point to, 2022. Look at the 5 teams that picked in the top 5 in 2022. Jacksonville, they made the playoffs and won a playoff game. And they're not any good, right? They're not good, but they've given their fans more than the Jet fan has seen. Detroit, duh. Look at their season. Look what they did last year. Houston, won the division last year. Won a playoff game. Contender this year. Jets, nothing. Giants even won a playoff game 2 years ago. That's another name, by the way. If Dable got fired, I'd consider it. I would. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's been given a crap quarterback hand. And if I'm the Jets and I'm picking in the top 3 and Brian Dable gets a chance to pick his quarterback to develop long term, I got to think about that. Just saying. If the Jets had Dable as their coach, they're not 2-6. Big Will writes in, Rex coach, Mangini GM. Back to the future, baby. I'd make Joe B happy. I don't agree with Tannenbaum, but I'm telling you, Rex is going to get an interview to be a head coach again. I don't know if they'll hire him, but he's going to interview. And you know what? At least Rex would want this job. And he would hold people accountable. And he would understand how to do it. The type of people you need in your locker room. Type of coaches you got to hire. Rex hired an amazing coaching staff in 2009. Look at some of those coaches he had, man. Look how many future head coaches were on the Jets staff. Tyler with a super chat. Firing Salah was a mistake. Brick has too much on his plate. Defense has gotten worse since his firing. No GM or head coach will come here with Rodgers. Well, I don't agree with that. I really don't. I think you would need to make it very clear to the GM, though, and to Aaron Rodgers, hey, like, He's under contract. He's expressed playing beyond this year, assuming Aaron still wants to do that. You have options with what you want to do with the direction of the team. It doesn't have to be to placate, trying to maximize the window of this quarterback. It's, hey, if you believe in a guy in the first round and you're picking in the top 5, you can take him. And I don't think it'd be the worst idea for a quarterback to sit for a year. Because I think other places you could throw the guy out there, maybe they have success. Houston, less pressure. Washington, same thing. I think New York's a different animal, man. I think when you throw Sam Darnold out there and Zach Wilson out there, and unfortunately you throw Geno out there, I think it takes a toll. And the one time the Jets had success with this strategy was Pennington. He sat for 3 years, which will never happen anymore in today's NFL. But is it the worst idea to do that? The fact that we're even having this discussion on October 27th brings me so much pain you have no idea, but it needs to be had. ISE says, I think you should let Australian Jet fan on. Is he Australian or from Austria? We were still trying to figure that out. Doug writes in, if we had kept Seibert, we would have 5 wins right now, and I was at the game and some D-bag Pats fan was trying to fight me all game. Awful experience. I'm sorry, Doug. All right, more of your calls. We will not be able to get to everyone because I'm exhausted, but I will try to squeeze in as many as we can. Ken from San Diego is up next. What's up, Ken?
How's it going, Jake? Can you hear me?
Pain. I hear you, Ken. I hear you.
Hey, I spoke to you earlier today. I kind of didn't call in last week. I thought maybe we'd switch things up and we'd win, but that didn't happen. Listen, hey, we talked about the coach and we talked about the organization. I think Alan hit on something really important, which is everybody's talking about what we should do. Who's going to do it? I mean, Joe Douglas is not going to be here next year. So we're not going to be prepared for the draft, really, because we're going to have to get a whole new GM. And I don't know if you want Joe Douglas to be cutting deals for DJ Reed or any of our players right now. He's not going to be here next year. So that's really interesting. Rodgers is hurt. I think I hear all these people complaining about Rodgers. 4 games ago, he was moving around. Now he can't move. I mean, he's gotten hammered. People got to go ahead and give that guy a little bit more credit. I know everybody's blaming Rodgers, but, I just don't think that's really fair. Anyone who thinks that we're going to go 2 and 15, or they're crazy. The Jets will absolutely screw up any chance of us getting an early round pick. We'll get really hot when it means nothing, like you said, and we'll get 7-8 wins this year. The only thing I think we could do really as an organization right now is people like you, people like me, we want a little blood. And so Zerline needs to be cut. Clemens needs to be cut. There are some other players that, who I just don't. I mean, I did not like the way Surratt played today. He didn't make a lot of plays that he should have made, I thought. But we got to go ahead and at least show the organization that we're not a complete clown show. So thanks for what you do. I feel a lot better after 4 hours listening to you. And go Jets.
Ken, appreciate you. Thanks for listening to the radio show and this show as always. It's tough. One of the other things Alan said too is who's going to come here. And Joe Caporoso has made this point too. One narrative that I don't think is true with the Jets is that, they don't have patience with the people they hire. Joe Douglas has had 100 games as general manager. Robert Saleh got 56 games. Todd Bowles got 64 games. Mike McCagnon got 64 games. The Jets are too patient with their candidates. So you could sell to a guy, you're going to have plenty of time to turn it around because look at our history. Robert Saleh got fired mid-season. The Jets have never fired a coach mid-season under Woody Johnson. I mean, they're a clown show right now. There's no doubt, but it's still 1 of 32, and the team still does have talent on it. Joke. Absolute joke. Ladies and gentlemen, 25 joins us. He was at the watch party today. Hello, 25.
What's good, brother? First off, I'm going to start off with, I wish I was the way I was at the Steelers game on this fucking watch party right now. Because I don't feel like I should be all hunky-dory right now. I really don't. But at the same time, I'm over it. I'm over it. I got a lot to say, so hopefully you and all the viewers can bear with me. But first of all, T Squared was great, man. I loved it. I didn't even realize it was you tapping me on the back after that touchdown. And then I looked over, I was like, that's Jake. All right. And then my brother,
look, man, it's a watch party. I mean, the Jets scored a touchdown.
Right. And then my brother, he's my little brother. I brought him with me. All my boys who were supposed to come, all their girlfriends took them away from me, bro. Like, it's just I become single and it's just whatever. So I brought my little brother with me, and he's a big cigar guy. So I'm like, listen, before you go out and smoke a cigar, go find Jake, see if Neil's here. He's a big cigar guy. Maybe you and him can fucking smoke a cigar, whatever. And I think he went and talked to you. Either way, seeing you, nice and briefly met you, whatever would adapt you up. That was great. But the entire game, I wasn't confident in the Jets the entire time. And I don't think you were there the last drive of the Patriots, like the last, like 1 minute of the game. But I was laughing the entire time. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, it's just a joke at this point. This team had fans on their knees in T Squared, on their knees, watching this team just ruin their season. And like, the train ride back to East Islip was long, man. And I was laughing during that time, but I took my jersey off. I slammed it on the table. I was so mad. And thinking about the entire game on the ride home was even worse. Like, I am mad right now. At this point, we need the military to step in. The military needs to round up this team and take them to Guantanamo Bay. This is
25. Thanks for the time, man. Good God. Nice to meet you. The military. Oh, we're down bad right now. Hey, Kenny's in the chat. He's watching on X. Kenny from Staten Island, baby. Best part about today was Jake's watch party. T-Social, great venue. Kenny, I'm glad I got to see you, man. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed the private section I gave you, Kenny. We got Kenny, Joe B, Neil, Big Rob, all in a private little area. Roped off for those four legends, OG Jet fans. Jim B says Matt Nagy might be a good hire. I don't know about that one. I'm not saying you can't interview him, but I think the Jets would get clowned if they hired him. Now, look, to be fair to Nagy, he obviously had poor quarterback play in Chicago, and I think he went to the playoffs that first year with Trubisky. But I don't know. I think there's other guys out there I'd prefer before I would go with Nagy. I'm not going to completely just say, no way, man, but I think there's other guys first. All right. We're approaching nearly 2 hours here, so let's try and get a couple more in before we get to that 2 hour mark. Australian Jet fan is next. Hello, Australian Jet fan.
Oh, hey, Jake. How you doing?
What's up, man?
Oh, so basically, like, I think we're all just in pain. Like, I got up at 4 a.m. in the morning to watch this game. And by the third quarter, I was just thinking, like, I just had that feeling like they're going to throw it away again. Like, I didn't have any faith by the third quarter. And, like, it's a problem when you're playing the Patriots, the second worst team in the league, because I'm going to say we're the worst team in the league, and you have that feeling. Like, why is it that I have less faith in the Jets than I had in Zach Wilson last season? Like, it's horrendous. Like, you look and it comes from the top. Like, you can tell that a franchise is dysfunctional when the GM and the owner aren't even communicating. Like, I'm gonna, like, to conclude, I'm gonna say that the Jets this year haven't been disappointing. They've been insufferable.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you got to get up at 4 a.m. to watch this, man. It's just they've broken their hardcore fans. They have, because the way they've lost these games have been excruciating. It's not like we've seen bad Jets teams, like, they just get beat, but, like, this team hasn't been, like, out talented in any of these games. They've just been out efforted, out hustled. They're made of glass. Like, I don't know, man. I wish I knew. The hamburger's next. Hey, hamburger.
What's up, Jake?
Hanging in, man. Hanging in.
Listen, I'm gonna go back to last week when I said, well, I'm gonna go back to the Bills. I said, the defense don't look the same since Ulbrich took over the team. Lack of attention to detail with the defense since he's been gone and been a head coach has been a problem. And then at the end of the Steelers game last week, what did I say? 4 games this year.
Yep.
4 games, and I did not think they were going to beat the Patriots tonight. Listen, man, I've watched a lot of Jet football in my life, and what I seen today, first quarter, all 3 timeouts, like, come on, bro. Like, who does that? Nobody but.
Bro, even for Jet standards, that is a new level of ineptitude. Like, I've never seen that in my life watching any football game.
Yeah, my wife was down here, and she was, like, doing her nails up on the bar watching the game. I don't think I've cursed so violently in my house. Thank God my kids weren't home. They were with my in-laws. Like, every play was, like, ridiculous with the mother effers that came out of my mouth the entire game. And then, we leave. I leave here. We didn't even finish the game. I go in the car and I got to drive. I'm hungover from last night from my party. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Will I watch? Yeah. Like the rest of us, we'll all watch. But listen, Joe Douglas, look, I said his name right. I didn't say Joe Davis. Joe Douglas, he's gone. He's got to be gone. And you've heard it from my mouth that, he's not going to be gone. I think they're going to keep him. At this point, they can't. Like, they can't entrust him to make any decisions at the point. Allen's right on that, and I hate saying Allen's right on anything. But it's over. My neighbor, all happy. We're going to the Super Bowl. Dude, it's over. It is over. It was over last week. It's over. 4 wins, max. They're not gonna get the number 1 pick in the draft. We can't do that right either. So, listen, I'm not abandoning the show. I'll still be around. Way too easy.
Hamburg, I appreciate you, man. Great call.
Yeah, I'll be back on during the week. I ain't gonna not listen. So, you at least have this fan here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate everyone who's gonna tune in, man. The viewership is about to go. I've seen this too many times, unfortunately. So the people who are here every day, the people who were here in July when there was nothing going on, or late June, or whatever, I truly appreciate it. By the way, this show's available in podcast form now, so search Jake Asman Show on Apple or Spotify if you so choose. Best way to support me, I always see people asking about this, Patreon. Go to my Patreon. It's linked in the description. You get bonus shows, discounts on every merch item. Your name in the intro. We're going to update the list of names here coming up for November. And you also get Discord access where you can commiserate with all your favoritized maniacs. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. In fact, to give a shout out to David Perlmutter, who signed up during this postgame show. Just got the alert. Shout out to David. Moshe Behar, who signed up for the year. You save 15% when you do that. Miss Lady Damaz, Paul Kubrick, and Joseph Navarro for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. My dad just texted me. I'll read you guys this text here. So for those tuning in late, I was on ESPN New York today from 4 to 8, and now we're doing this. We're 2 hours in. So 6 hours talking about this debacle. He goes, haven't you had enough? Go eat. Well, to Dad, I'll tell you. I got my Uber Eats order right here, or my Grubhub order. We're ready to order some Taco Bell. So don't worry. We'll be eating. 25 says, I do not what I said. It's hyperbole to explain how hard this team is. I get it, 25. If you want to call in the military, do it. 25 says, feel like Cowboys fans right now. Woody acting like Jerry. Yeah, but at least Jerry's teams win in the regular season. All right? Right? Jerry's teams have won 12 games in a row, or have had 3 straight seasons of 12 or more wins. You could add up the last couple of years of Jets football, and you wouldn't get to 12 wins in some scenarios. Brutal. Peter Castro Jr. is on the line. Hello, Peter Castro Jr.
How you doing, Jake? Long fan of your show. I know my dad calls in all the time to you.
Wait a second. I was curious. I thought it was maybe a bit. Are you actually Peter's son?
I am Peter's son.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Your dad called me on the radio tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I always watch the show, big fan, but I had to finally come out of hiding tonight because I can't take it anymore. It's like every single time I get my hopes up, I'm let down. It's another season in the garbage before Halloween. And I have to tell you, I know my father's always told you, um, the biggest problem going into the season that Joe Douglas and Woody went along with was bringing back this coaching staff. And this coaching staff is really the ultimate reason, the constant of the last couple of seasons where you've seen the defense get progressively worse each year. They don't come out to play. They're not motivated at all. And it's all facets of the game. If it's not the kicker, we take the lead, and then the defense can't get a stop. And I think that what they have to do now is Joe Douglas, as much as I gave him a lot of benefit of the doubt over the years, I have to say that he was the one that went out and hired Saleh. He made some good and bad picks along the way. But this coaching staff may be the worst staff in all of football. And they've actually taken a very talented team and broken them now. So I like you, say, where do we go from here? I think that we have to get a guy in here that commands a lot of respect, and we have to get a new GM first, let him go out and get the coach, do it the right way this time. Let's keep the core guys. I know you said Garrett Wilson. He should be here. He wants to be a Jet. He's a guy that wants to win. Breece Hall is the one player that I love this guy. I think that with the right coaching staff, he could really take off. We have some good core pieces, but there are some things that we got to change. And I think it's going to start with the coaching because it's actually gotten worse without Saleh. And it's just really, really frustrating.
Which is hard to believe, but you're 100% right, Peter. And look, that's kind of how I look at it too, right? Like, I don't like, there's been some situations where it's like you're starting over from scratch. There's some talent on this team. Like, it doesn't need to take forever to build it back up. But I think it starts with hiring the right GM and having a real practical approach to, if you're going to bring Aaron back for one more year, okay, but you're still drafting a quarterback. Or if you're going to draft the quarterback, why not sign a legit veteran on a one-year deal like what the Vikings did with Darnold, for example, and then you have J.J. McCarthy. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to take forever to build this back up, but there needs to be a plan on what you're going to do with quarterback. And obviously, if you could get the right coach, you could turn around the talent on this team and win some games next year. Like, as we're seeing, the AFC is, like, they were for the be taken. Like, the bottom, there's going to be a 7 seed this year that's not very good. That's going to make the playoffs. And it's like you have all this talent. Like, it doesn't mean anything if you can't get the right coach in there to manifest this talent and take it to the highest of levels. Because not only is it bad from a coaching standpoint, I agree with you. I think we're actually seeing regression from some of these players because of how bad the coaching is. You're seeing guys maybe like Sauce lose his confidence, and that's what made him great in the first place.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if you think about it, I think that Aaron Rodgers, with as much pride of not wanting to go out like this, I think he's going to walk away at the end of the year because I think he's going to say enough is enough. A new staff coming in here is not going to be so thrilled either to be walking into Aaron Rodgers for a year. Yep. So the only way it would work would be like what you said. If he came back 1 year with the idea, no, we are drafting a quarterback to sit for a year behind you, but I don't think he's going to really want a part of that. I think he's going to be out of here, and we have to follow the blueprint of the entire NFL. The reason why the Texans and the Commanders and all these teams get better is coach and quarterback. And, I know we've missed on a lot of the quarterbacks, and we had, when we had Rex, he actually took us, that team was really, really talented. I feel like we could have gone to the Super Bowl both of those years, and we didn't. We haven't gotten back to that level yet, even though we have talent here. But we need a guy that's going to be a disciplinarian, that's going to hold people accountable. That's everything that I thought Robert Saleh would have been when I saw him on the 49ers sideline. And after a half a year of watching him, Jake, I knew he wasn't going to be the right fit. And, I just knew right from then. We had 4 games to win to get to the playoffs. 2 years ago, we didn't do it. Last year's excuse was Zach going down. Rodgers going down and Zach coming in. There's no more excuses. We're at the bottom line is the one constant is the same GM and the same rotten coaching staff that gets us nowhere.
Agreed. Peter, excellent call. And while You are not your father. I will still play you out like this.
Furline, he stinks. Get him out of here. Aaron Rodgers, he's as bad as Simeon. He's not going to get better. He's 41 with a bad leg. He's terrible.
Amazing. I also could have played him in with this if I actually knew that he was actually really Peter Castro Jr.
The biggest mistake they made is not firing this whole crew of shitheads before the season started. The coaches can't make decisions. They don't correct anything. I mean, this is a joke.
Or I could have played this.
Our coaching staff stinks. The team is never prepared. They're undisciplined. They make a million mistakes. And the coaching staff is terrible. He doesn't know what he's doing. Hackett and him are like having two drug addicts on the sideline. They're no good. And if Rodgers doesn't fix this, we're all going to kill ourselves. What happens after Rodgers? They have no plan for that. It's going to be 10 more years of being shit.
You know, it's scary hearing that now because that's where we are. Peter Castro saw the vision. 10 more years of being shit. I can't do it anymore. 10 more years? I'm worried he's right. Everything he said there turned out to be true. Now what? Keith writes in, I'm 41 years old, been a Jet fan for 30 years. I don't know how much longer I could do this. I never considered jumping ship. I'm getting close now. Look, if you're going to jump ship, like, you can't pick another team. I'm not going to tell you have to spend your Sundays watching the Jets right now. I get it. It's tough. But, you know, win or lose or draw, I'll be doing this every day. I'll be watching every game. And even if I, didn't do this for a living, you can't pick another team. Like, the Jets are always your team. 25 says, worse record with a Hall of Fame quarterback than with a third-string QB. Yeah, look, they were 4-3 last year. I get it. But here's the thing. Last year's Jets were better on defense than this year's defense. Last year's Jets win this game. If you had Aaron Rodgers, even at this state where he's 40, he can't move because he's hurt, you put him on last year's team, they win more than 7 games. Because the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team is the defense was way better last year. Way better. Can't even compare. And Greg Zuerlein didn't miss last year. He missed 3 kicks all year. If they had last year's Greg Zuerlein, the Jets this year have 3 more wins. But you can't jump ship. All right, we'll do a couple more calls. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, there's been a lot of rumblings in the chat about the potential of this Jets season going off the rails. And full disclosure, the caller I was going to bring on to set it all up just dropped out, so I can't even make the joke. So I'll save it for another time. We'll say hello to JJ, though, while we wait. Hello, JJ.
Oh, I'm glad I can be a backup guest.
Thanks for the time, JJ. Let's say hello to Paul. Hey, Paul.
Hey, I didn't hear you. What's up?
Paul?
Sitting in the bar after that fucking debacle. Just want to touch base on a few things, man. For starters, we'd be 5-3, and half this conversation wouldn't be happening if Zuerlein just kicked fucking field goals like he did last year. I mean, 5-3 is a big difference. We'd be a game behind in our division, and that's only because we didn't get the bye. And instead, we implode. And second, I understand about the defense, but a lot of people really don't realize how banged up they are defensively, which is not good. And you know what? We had a very healthy 2 years. No one got hurt on the D for 2 years. And we lose a couple of players, and we're getting injuries now. That to the point, it's ridiculous. And Aaron Rodgers, everyone said it. He was fine the first few games. Those 2 games in a row when he got sacked like 30 times, got hurt. I mean, why is it that we can always talk about the past and Brett Favre? Yeah, well, guess that's because Brett Favre won 8 games, before he got hurt. But Rodgers clearly took a pounding them games. And again, why was the offensive line so bad? And now they're playing better. This team this is by far the worst season I've ever had. I'm 53 years old. This is the most painful season I have ever lived with. The expectations so high to get just crushed as always, but it's more embarrassing than ever because everybody like my friends are all Steeler fans and they're just like, I got to hear it like always. Yeah,
I know, Paul. I know, brother. Hey, look, enjoy the drink at the bar. Oh, yeah,
What?
Drown out your sorrows with a couple cocktails and some beers, and I tell you, it will get better, but I don't think it will. But
No, it won't. It's the same song and dance, and you know what? There's no rhyme or reason to it. Even sometimes, like I said, Zerline alone, we'd be 5-3. It'd be a completely different conversation. We'd be right in the thick of everything, but they still don't have a kicker. And they went and let that other kid go that was kicking good in preseason, and we don't have a backup for that. They let that kid go, so that turns out to be a really bad move.
Yeah.
And then I guess my last question is, what's the story with the quarterback from Florida State? I mean, is he going to be able to like at least get on the field and sit behind Rodgers anytime this year, or no?
I don't think we're going to see him at all, Paul. I don't. I think he's still getting healthy. To my knowledge, he hasn't been cleared yet, so he's not practicing fully. He's around the team. He's a sponge in meetings, I've been told, but no. Look, here's the thing. If they had a better kicker, they would have more wins for sure. And, I'm not going to kill the Jets necessarily for not keeping Seibert over the summer, right? Because Greg Zuerlein was coming off an amazing year. And if they cut Zuerlein and Seibert missed a huge kick early, we'd be killing Joe Douglas. Why would you get rid of Greg Zuerlein? But once we got past that Bills game and they didn't add another kicker, I went ballistic that week on the show. Then I know they got blown out, but a big part of that blowout, I believe, was Zuerlein's kick getting blocked when they were down. I think they were down 7, right? And his kick could have cut it to 4. And ultimately it didn't matter because he got blown out. But that was a huge momentum changer in the game. He missed another kick that night. And he missed a kick on the PAT because it got blocked, but they called a penalty. You watch that back, probably shouldn't have been a penalty. Jets got a break, and then they went for 2, and they obviously got it. He was bad in that game, too. So you had the Bills game and the Steelers game. He was bad. After he cost you the Denver game, missed an easy kick against New England. Why was he on the team today? Greg McManus was signed 2 games ago by Green Bay. He's hit 2 game-winning kicks for them. That guy was available for the Jets to sign too. And Joe Douglas is to blame for this. It's easy to say Zuerlein sucks. Yeah, I don't think he's doing it on purpose. He was amazing last year. How does this GM justify letting this guy kick? And that's why Joe Douglas deserves to be fired. That's why I'm not simping for him. I'm not defending him. He's got to go. You made the same mistake twice. Your catastrophic mistake a year ago was neglecting backup quarterback and then doubling down on that neglection after the first game and throughout the year. They could have made the playoffs last year if he was a better GM. Even with Saleh being a flawed coach, even with Zach Wilson sucking, all that. Could have made the playoffs. You follow that up to this year, and this kicking situation has now cost them at least 3 games. Let's say conservatively 2. Where would the Jets be with 2 more wins right now? We'd have a season. If the Jets were 4-4, with 3 games coming up against Houston, Arizona, and Indy, you could be 6-5 with the bye. You could have a season. Douglas got to go. Got to go. I want to give a huge shout out to Jorge. If he's still watching, you might have left already. Here it is. I'm checking out. See you next year. A $100 super chat as Jorge, a diehard fan, sets off into the sunset. Well, Jorge, I'm telling you right now that your $100 super chat is going to good use. My Taco Bell has been ordered, folks. It will be arriving at 10:48 or 11:03. So thank you, Jorge. We thank you for your service. I also will play this.
Get your ass off my super chats. Some of these are gifted memberships too.
Hey.
The hell with it.
25 says our issues run deep. Have a culture issue or curse. Look, if we believe the Jets are cursed, then you know what? There's no hope. But the Cubs were cursed until they figured it out. The Red Sox were cursed. The Cavaliers were cursed. All these teams were cursed. The Chiefs hadn't won anything. They won Super Bowl IV. They had never been back. Then Andy Reid showed up. Then Mahomes showed up. They got it right. So I choose to believe as a fan that if the Jets actually hire competent people to their jobs, they too can win. And this owner at least has shown you, it was a long time ago, they won with him owning the team, right? They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they won 4 road playoff games in a 2-year span and went to back-to-back championship games. They went to the playoffs in 06, 04, 01. You know, from 2000 to 2016 when Woody owned the team, they never had back-to-back losing seasons. No one wants to hear this right now, but I look at it like, to me, it's a culture problem more so than the team's curse. You got to get the right people in there, man. The Knicks sucked. Dolan's not a good owner, but they're good. Why? Right people running the show. All right, we will give JJ another chance. But first, we heard from Peter Castro Jr. We got to hear from the OG Peter Castro. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Jake. How are you? Jake, they cut me off ESPN so quick I couldn't say anything.
I know. I did say something at the break. I'm like, hey, a little quick trigger there to my producer. I'm like, you got to give some respect to the great Peter Castro. I had your back.
I mean, just watching this game today, first of all, the coaching staff all has to go. They all have to go, including Joe Douglas. Yep. I want everybody out. Now, in that first quarter, when the Jets got the ball and they're on the other side of the 40, and it's 4th and 3, all right? You think they're going to the Super Bowl. They got no balls. Go for it. Any other coach in the NFL would go for it. They punt. And then when they come off the field, when the players come off the field, Yulberg is shaking their hands like they did something. What did they do? They did nothing. This coaching staff is terrible. It has to go. He should fire them all tomorrow morning. I don't care who he puts in there. He could put Bo Diddley in there. It would be better than this crew. This team is unprepared, all right? They're taking good players like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Sauce Gardner and turning them into shit. And they took a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they're making him look bad, too. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea about offense. They don't know how to scheme a receiver open. It's impossible. Every other team in the NFL can scheme a receiver open, but the Jets can't. Everybody's covered like a glove. It's just sickening. I can't stand watching it. Between them and the Yankees this week, I want to shoot myself.
Well, at least the Yankees give you some winning, though, Peter. You know, they're in the World Series. They're in the playoffs every year. This team has not been in the playoffs since 2010, and there's no end in sight, you know?
We have to make the right coaching hire. It's a must. They got to get it right. They got to get the right coach in here, and they can't make any more mistakes. It's enough.
Hold on 1 second, Peter. I'm dealing with a Taco Bell controversy. I don't think they understand the concept of you leave it with the doorman, but let me figure this out. Hello? Yeah, just leave it with the doorman, and I'll be down to handle it. It's 4:35. Are you? Hold on 1 second. Peter, I'm going to give the show to you. You rant, and let me handle this.
Okay. All right. You really want to know the truth? Woody Johnson wanted Aaron Rodgers bad. He overshot his boundaries with Joe Douglas and Saleh, and he decided that he was going to go get Woody Johnson. All right? Woody Johnson decided he was going to go get Aaron Rodgers. Now you really got a dilemma on your hands because you're not going to get anybody in here that wants to coach with Aaron Rodgers with his attitude. Like, he thinks he's God. But beside that being the case, that's why Joe Douglas is invisible now and nobody can see him anymore. Because
all right, I'm back. How was the show, Peter?
It's great. It's going along great.
All right. I want to make sure you got your time. I was upset that my producer cut you off on the radio earlier.
Yeah, well, they're pretty quick on ESPN. They don't want you talking too much.
Well, I wasn't normally I control the calls, right? But I wasn't in the studio because I did the show from T Squared. How did Peter do, guys? Does he have a future in this show hosting biz?
I was explaining to them that Woody Johnson screwed this whole thing up because he's really the one that wanted Aaron Rodgers more than Joe Douglas and more than Robert Saleh. And now he's like almost turned over the whole team to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't have an issue with them pursuing Rodgers. The problems are way bigger than just Aaron Rodgers, right? Like Aaron Rodgers didn't hire Robert Saleh. He didn't hire Joe Douglas. Ultimately, those guys are not the right people for this job. Like Aaron today played well enough for them to win. He played well enough for them to win against the Bills. I wasn't expecting MVP Aaron Rodgers coming off this injury at age 40. I was expecting this defense to remain elite, this kicker to not suck. Like if they had last year's Greg Zuerlein, the Jets' record right now would be 6-2. That's the difference.
Why is Zuerlein in here? He should have been out of here last week.
Agreed.
I mean, come on. He already cost us 2 or 3 games. This is ridiculous. And like you said, Joe Douglas is doing exactly what he did with Zach Wilson with no backup. He didn't get any backup last year. He did exactly the same thing. Enough is enough. They got to go.
Amen,
they got to go. All of them got to go, Jake.
I think they will go. And the question then is going to become, okay, who's in charge now? Let's say hello to JJ, who's next. Hey, JJ.
What's going on? It's funny because earlier in the show, somebody said that we should have listened to JJ, the negative caller, JJ and Alan. And your reply to them was that, well, JJ's all over the place because he said that we're going to win 10 straight. So I'm gonna double down on that.
Can we win 9 straight now? Because that's what it's going to take.
Listen. We got to do what we got to do. But the cool thing about the AFC right now is that there's about 8 teams ahead of us for that 7th seed in the wild card spot. Out of the 8 teams, the best record is 4-4. Everybody else is 2-6, 2-6, 2-6, 4-3, and 4-4. So we're not out of it yet. And I know you guys are like, oh, well, JJ's crazy. How did he go from being negative to now he's all of a sudden positive? And it's because calling into this show year after year after year, you guys have drained me because you guys don't listen. And I thought about it. I was like, yo, what was my first couple of hot takes that turned me into a negative caller? If you go back and you look, I used to tell you guys, yo, Zach Wilson sucks. And I remember there was one game, I forget who we were playing, but the response was Zach Wilson doesn't suck. If Brees doesn't get caught at the 1 yard line, or if somebody else doesn't get caught at the 1 yard line, he would have thrown 2 touchdowns. And you guys made excuse after excuse after excuse for Zach Wilson. And then furthermore, I told you guys, hey, LaFleur is not that good of an offensive coordinator. Oh no, LaFleur, it's not LaFleur, it's not LaFleur. I came on here, I said, yo, Joe Douglas isn't a good GM. Year after year after year, you guys made excuse after excuse after excuse for Joe Douglas. And the same thing with Robert Saleh. And now I'm going to give you guys my next.
Hold on, I'm going to give you the floor. We're having a major Taco Bell conundrum here. JJ, don't get me demonetized. Stand by.
Well, I'm not going to curse, but I'm going to give you guys my next hot take. Aaron Rodgers is the problem with this team right now. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, what is JJ talking about? But, I mean, at the end of the day, the only reason we kept Robert Saleh as the head coach was because we believe that Aaron Rodgers wanted Robert Saleh. And if we got rid of Saleh, we would have lost Aaron Rodgers. Okay, well, he ain't playing that good anyway. So maybe it would have been better if he wasn't here. And if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, we would have never had gotten Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, if you just look at the team that we put together last year with all these A-Rod guys, Tim Boyle being the backup because he knows the system and he's worked with Aaron Rodgers, and Alan Lazard being on the team, which this year he's playing a lot better, but last year he was horrific. And you just go down the line of just Randall Cobb being on the team. This Aaron Rodgers.
Chad, how's JJ doing? How's it going, JJ? How's the show?
I think the show is going pretty well. I'm going on a rant right now about how Aaron Rodgers has ruined this team. And I know you're going to disagree with me, but if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, we would never kept Robert Saleh as the head coach. We would have never hired Nathaniel Hackett. You look at some of the free agent signings that we've had that Aaron Rodgers had his handprints over. I know we're talking about last year, but
yeah, but what was the plan though? Is my point to you? Like obviously him getting hurt screwed up a lot because if he never got hurt last year, we would have saw, hey, Saleh's not the guy. They would have fired him. They would have tried it with a new coach this year and went for it, and it would have been different.
We saw that Saleh wasn't the coach last year. We already knew he wasn't the coach.
But it wasn't realistic for him to be fired last year. Let
me tell you something. It was realistic. And if you look at Houston, right? Look at what your Houston Texans did. They fired coach after coach after coach, and they didn't have a quarterback when what was the guy's name? Cully? What was his name?
Yeah, but I could give you some more background on that situation. That was a hire that was made basically because they were going to be crap. They knew they were going to be crap. Then they flipped to Lovey, thinking Lovey would be like the stabilizer for them. They thought they were going to be better. They ended up being just as bad. There was like some infighting with Lovey and Jack Easterby. They both ended up getting shown the door. And then ultimately Nick Caserio hired D'Amico Ryans. That was a very unique situation with Houston went through.
So you're trying to tell me that our situation wasn't unique when we've had Joe Douglas here for going on 7 years. We had Robert Saleh here. Last year it was his 3rd year. And I'm not talking about the wins. I'm just talking about the fact that the team was not disciplined last year. We were one of the most penalized teams in the league. We were always unprepared. When it came to must-win games, we always came out flat. When it came to after the bye week, we always came out flat. So I'm not specifically talking about our win record with Salah. I'm talking about the things that were eye-opening that we could easily just say, hey, listen, he's not a good head coach. And you guys held on to him and tried to make this fan base believe that he was something that he wasn't. And same thing with Joe Douglas. And furthermore, if we look at just
Yeah, but I don't know if you could justify firing Joe Douglas last year and then or firing Salah and then letting Douglas pick another coach at that point. Like I didn't think you could do it. To me, it had to be both of them or not. And Rodgers getting hurt, unfortunately, provided them a mulligan. And this year should have been better. But you saying that it was a mistake with Aaron Rodgers, like I think that's kind of short-sighted. Like the mistakes were made before Aaron Rodgers got. It is. What was there? If they didn't trade for Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr would be here. They'd be in a worse spot.
How would we be in a worse spot? Just because Derek Carr got injured in with the Saints doesn't necessarily mean he would have been gotten injured with the Jets. It's 2 different teams.
What do you mean? You'd be stuck with Derek Carr and trying to convince yourself that you have some sort of future with him when you don't. Aaron, it was always going to be this 2-year silo of going for it. Now the whole thing blew up. You can move on. Like
the difference is if we have a Derek Carr, we wouldn't have kept Nathaniel Hackett going into the season and we started 3 games behind.
They're not winning with Carr though, JJ. Like obviously it has not worked with Aaron Rodgers. But
the point that I'm trying to make is,
what are you trying to say?
The point that I'm trying to make is, at the end of the day, the reason that we're in this situation is because we held on to Salah for too long. We held on to Hackett for too long. And clearly, if you look at the team, the biggest problem with this team is the offense. I know people are going to be mad about Greg Zuerlein. I know people are going to be mad about the defense giving up the plays. But at the end of the day, if you look at the offense production from the beginning of the season till now, that has been the biggest issue with this team. If you don't score more than 9 points, if you score more than 9 points against the Denver Broncos and you don't leave it up to the kicker, every single game, think about this, every single game that we've lost for the most part has ended with Aaron Rodgers having the football in his hands, and he couldn't get it done. So
he got it done today, and the defense didn't get it done. What happened against Buffalo when Zuerlein missed 2 kicks that night, or Tyron Smith wiped away a touchdown with a brutal holding call when they could have won.
Then Aaron Rodgers comes in and he blames Mike Williams for
JJ. I'm not trying to tell you Aaron Rodgers has been great. Obviously, he's not what he once was. We all could see that, but he's also clearly not 100% healthy because you were at the same game I was at where he was carving up the Patriots off script, off schedule, moving. And since he took a beating against Denver and they got his body twisted up against Minnesota in the game I was at in London, he hasn't been right. He's on the injury report with 3 injuries right now: hamstring, knee, ankle. He has no lateral movement right now. He already wasn't as agile as he once was because he's 40 coming off this injury. We knew that. But to me, if you're ranking them,
to get off the field. And let me tell you this.
But who are you bringing in? There's no one better. And my whole point is, JJ,
somebody who can move.
JJ,
can I ask one question real quick? Because I know you're going to cut me off because I know you're going to hang up on me. I just want to make one point, right? The whole purpose of Aaron Rodgers and keeping Nathaniel Hackett is that Aaron Rodgers can come out there, and if Hackett calls a bad play, Aaron Rodgers can change it. Well, clearly that doesn't work because now even with Todd Downing, he sits there and he changes the plays and he makes people go into different spots. They don't know what the heck they're doing. We have to burn timeouts. This is a constant thing. And every single game under Rodgers, he lets the play clock get all the way down. We have to call timeouts.
Agreed. It's a problem. But he wasn't the problem today. He wasn't the problem today. They should have won the game. They should have won the game.
They wanted to go for 2, right? They wanted to go for 2. If you want to go for 2, that's fine. You don't take a delay of game penalty.
I agree that these things are a problem, but I think if you're ranking the issues for the Jets, like if you're blaming Aaron Rodgers for some of these things, like I'm sorry, man, like it goes beyond just him. And also the whole premise of adding him was you were adding him to a defense that was top 5 and a special teams that was top 5, neither of which is anywhere true. If they had last year's Greg Zuerlein, JJ, how many more wins would they have? If they had last year's defense,
you guys are the same thing.
I will do that. I will do that because the whole point
Adams. If we had Devontae Adams against Denver,
if we had competent quarterback play, that was the point. How many more wins would they have? That was everything I said. I never predicted Aaron Rodgers to win an MVP. I mean, last I checked, Aaron Rodgers is on a statistical pace to throw over 30 touchdowns on 4,000 yards. And it's not going to matter because the rest of the team is not good enough around him anymore. And he's not able to elevate guys like he once was. But that was the point. And if you didn't want Aaron Rodgers, tell me what your plan would have been 2 years ago when they were pursuing other quarterbacks. If you tell me Derek Carr, like, I respect your opinion, but I don't think the Jets would be better off right now if they went down the Carr path.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? With the game on the line, Aaron Rodgers has had the football and he's thrown interceptions. And he wants to blame people for poorly thrown passes. He can say all he wants about the Mike Williams not being on the red line. Even if Mike Williams was on the red line, look at where the ball was thrown. The ball wasn't thrown to the red line.
Dude, I played Dan Orlovsky breaking down that play, and he could tell you exactly what happened there. That's not
use your. I don't care what Dan Orlovsky says.
He played quarterback in the NFL. I respect his opinion. If you don't care what he says, great. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not trying to sell you that Aaron Rodgers has been unbelievable, but I think when you're ranking the issues here, like, what are we talking about, man? We're gonna blame Rodgers for today? For the Buffalo game? Really? It hasn't worked, but like I think it's so simplistic to say, oh, yeah, it's a big mistake. Like, it hasn't worked, but that's a move that 95% of this fan base all wanted. He's been good enough to win. Unfortunately, since he's not great anymore, he can't overcome the stench that is the New York Jets, and that is the unfortunate reality. John in Connecticut's our last caller. Hello, John.
Hey, Jake. I'll make this quick. Don't want to beat a dead horse. I actually wanted to just respond to a point someone was making probably like an hour ago or so now. I get that people are mad and like the reflex is to want to blow everything up. Trading Garrett Wilson is just a take that I would fight any Jets fan on. I find it to be just a outlandish idea, because now all of a sudden, now that we're losing, like, people want to throw out the idea that he's not a number one receiver. He is a number one receiver because he's quarterback proof. He showed us that. And the back of the football card backs that up. Like, he's played with 7 different quarterbacks. And so like now my point is ultimately that I get that everyone's mad. There's players that need to go out the door, but I've watched too many Devin Smiths, Stephen Hills, Jeremy Curleys, all these Denzel Mims. Like, this franchise was starved for a receiver for so long. We finally got one. This guy plays every single game. I feel like Garrett is owed a defense by the fans based on how hard he plays. He's always in the lineup, like I said. So I just wanted to get that take out there. Otherwise, I was gonna peace out. But Garrett Wilson, legend, trading him, brain dead idea. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense either right now. Let's get through the year. And look, the one thing that doing it over, if we knew how it would play out, I don't think it's the regret is the Rodgers situation. I think the regret is not changing the coach after last year. I love the people saying Rodgers is done. Stop with the excuses. What excuses am I giving you? I'm giving you facts. I'm giving you goddamn reasons. If you've watched this show, I have not once told you I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to win the MVP this year. I thought he was going to be great. I thought he was going to be competent. I thought he was not going to turn it over and manage the offense, which at times he has done, and the kicking has failed him. The defense blew it today. Seriously, the timeouts, the delay games, yeah, that's a problem. But I'm sorry, dude. If you think that Aaron Rodgers has not been an upgrade over what we have watched at the quarterback spot the last couple of years, you're blind. He's also not healthy. Like, I think that is fair to say is contributing to him not playing well. Like, he's not the same guy we watched moving around, playing the way he did when he got his legs back from under him against New England that night, the last time they won. Then he took a beating against Denver and Minnesota, and he hasn't been right since. And he still gave them chances to win some of these games. He had a 100 passer rating and 300 yards against Buffalo. I love it. AJ, Jake's a Rodgers apologist and excuse maker. Or I'll give you reasons. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Dumb comment from 1189. Could have gotten Carr at a cheaper price. You could not, because Rodgers' pay cut had his cap hits for these 2 years significantly lower than Derek Carr's. But please go off. Stupid, man. He's not what he was. It's obvious. But it's like, come on, man. We're blaming Aaron Rodgers for Greg Zuerlein missing kicks. It's stupid. He's not blameless, believe me. I've been disappointed. I was so disappointed with the interception he threw last week against the Steelers. But that's an excuse for the Jets then to fold up shop the way they did. They were still up 15-13 at halftime last week. That's an excuse to allow Pittsburgh to score 31 straight. Like every week, it's been something different. It's just, it's frustrating, man. Now people are going to say, Alex, these are reasons, man. Once again, find me the show where I was saying Rodgers is going to win an MVP. It was, he's at least going to be competent. He's at least going to go out there and with this defense and special teams, be able to win more than 7 games. Well, the special teams, the kicker, AKA, has cost you 3 games and counting so far. To joke, he even got to cost him another one today. And this defense had a chance to win, and guess what? They blew it. Sucks. But that's where we're at. I'm done. 2 hours and 35 minutes after 4 hours of radio. Super chats here at the buzzer. C says, I know it's not this simple, but it feels like our kicker cost us a season. It's never one thing, but that's a huge reason why. Luppy says, Jets always make wrong moves. Until they get it right, what confidence do you have in them making the correct decisions that now need to be made? Today sucked, guys. Thanks again to everyone who came to T-Squared Social. Truly appreciate it. Reminder, Yankee fans, watch party for Game 4, Vanderbilt Market. Join me and the ESPN New York Street team if you want to watch Game 4 all together. Great spot, right near Grand Central. So come out and hang. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show to get bonus content and support the channel that way. And before we get out of here, just a big thank you to everyone still watching. Got over 1,500 people in here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'll be back with Joe Beningo at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Story Lynn says, Rodgers, super toxic. Why the hell are you doing interviews with Mac? Okay, I can't. I'm not doing that. He's done McAfee for 5 years. His first 2 years, he did it. He was the back-to-back league MVP. When you lose, all these things all of a sudden become a problem. But, whatever. I can't. Thank you all for your support. Appreciate the support from the fan base, as always. Hope everyone has a good night. Hope Joe Douglas is happy with what he built. Thank you again for your support. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Go, Jets.
Embarrassing. This is as bad as it's ever been for the New York Jets. It will never be worse than it is right now. They are about to be 2-6 with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and all this talent. Add Devontae Adams, add Hassan Reddick. And this defense, which once upon a time used to be good, got dog-walked late in this game when they needed a stop, and they couldn't get it. I mean, this is fold the franchise territory for the Jets. They're terrible.
Thinking is overrated.